How many years? To Walton Valley for 30. And then on this board for a couple of decades. 16, a long time. Thank you for taking time to be here. The importance of why we're here is it's going to drive our mission. If we're not here for a pure reason, we can't make the mission work right. So we're going to jump into mission and talk specifically about what that should look like. If you read in the packet that the fire chief had written and current chief had sent me your mission statement, this statement, I believe, was put together by Lexipol, a company that I believe in, think a lot of, but there's a challenge with this mission statement. This is written more like a legal document, not that Gordon Graham, an attorney, would write it that way. But the thought process with a mission statement that's effective is that it's short. It's normally 8 to 15 words. Every firefighter, every board member, your press should be able to memorize it, know it in a heartbeat. Why are we here? And when I look at that mission statement, it is too convoluted to lead you. I think it's way too big. I think it's way too heavy of a lift. This is more of a opening statement. This is more of a part of a bigger document. But that mission statement is way too long to be effective. So we did a little research and we started pulling up some mission statements that were more nimble, but yet robust enough to get the job done. So we pulled up a number of them. Tualatin Valley is here, very short, simple. Tualatin Valley is committed to create safer communities through prevention, preparedness, and effective emergency response. I love that. Any firefighter, any board member, any newspaper person can know exactly what we do and can recite that. It doesn't take any time to memorize what that statement is. Clackamas County's is just below it, and I think it's just as good. Victoria, BC's is good. Very short, very concise, very accurate to what we do. And where I would like to start right now is just to take a quiet minute and think about these statements. And if you were going to crystallize in a very few words why we exist as a public entity, hopefully somewhere between 10 and 50, take a second and think about what those words would be. If you like any of these, or if you have different words you want to use that are important to what we do as an organization. So let's just take a minute and think about those statements. I'm going to go around the room in reverse order, and I'm going to ask if you could coin it in just a very few words. What would you say is the ideal mission statement for this organization?
I'm just taking some from the past that I've seen and some of the ones up here. I mean, I do like Victoria's. Ours was very short like that. And so provide and prevent, protect. And I really love that 4-word one. It should be something that we should be, and those words have multiple definitions, and they also mean a great deal, multiple stuff. So I think short and sweet to the point, but our job is to protect and serve.
Nobody knows what it's going to be like in 10 years. You know, we may be doing things significantly different. The state may throw new services on us that we have to do. Clearly, EMS is becoming a bigger and bigger deal. Already it's 70–80% of all of our call runs. I believe with where the medical world is headed, you may have your own emergency clinic in 10 years, who knows? But I think being nimble and being short is good. What are your thoughts?
I like something along the lines of taking a little bit from everything of saving lives, protecting property, and building a safer community through prevention and education. Something short and sweet like that.
Thoughts?
I agree with Dustin 110%. That's what I was going to say.
I think you're spot on. What are your thoughts?
I just wrote increase public safety through public service.
I like that, steal that. But don't give him credit for it.
Can you say it one more time?
Increase public safety through public service.
That's a home run. What are your thoughts?
I'm where with these guys. I like Dustin's, we're here to serve and protect lives first, and then property, and then environment. So Dustin said a good one, the way he did it. So.
I think that was a home run. Thoughts?
All these guys, the Tualatin Valley one's the one that sticks out to me. I think it's a little bit longer, but I think it's concise and it covers everything. So if I was to write something, it would write something similar to that, but I'm not very good at doing that on the spot, so to be honest.
Mark, what are your thoughts?
I'm good.
Let's crystallize this. Let's agree, realizing that we may change this a little bit. So what's going to happen when we finish this? We're going to go home, do our paperwork. You're going to get a Gantt chart. The staff is going to fill out the action items. Our goals today are to get goals and to get major objectives under each goal. And then you're going to go home, relax, prepare for the most important holiday of the year tomorrow, St. Patrick's Day. If you have not bought green beer, I think it is the law in this county. You have to have, Dustin, you're smiling. I appreciate that. Okay, let's crystallize this. Let's put it together in some words. Where you guys are, I think, is spot on. What are you going to be happy showing the newspaper?
Yeah.
You're on.
What did I say? Saving lives, protecting property, and building a safer community through prevention and education.
Okay, we're gonna crystallize that. We may take a little bit of wordsmithing at home if we run it through the dictionary, just make sure we get the comments in the right place. But that's gonna be where that is the core of what we do, why we exist right there. And I think it's well coined. Everybody's happy with that start? Okay, let's talk about where we're going. Our vision statements. Vision statements, when I read through strategic plans and when we've done it with other groups, they can be all over the boards. And the problem with that is that sometimes they should be tied together. Sometimes they can be in a little bit of a conflict. And what I would like to suggest to you is that we play to our org chart and develop our vision statements around each of the divisions that we have inside the organization, if that makes sense. So we need to create some statements of where we're trying to go with our equipment, our buildings, our people, and our service. And I would suggest that we start with our service statement because that's why we exist, serving the public. What would be a good vision statement of where you want us to be in 3 years? Think about it for a second, and then we'll go back around the room and try to crystallize that down to very few words. This one's TVF on ours, as you can see. This is your dream. This is where we're going to take the district. So if you were going to write this in this is where we're going, what would you say about how we serve? Different than our mission statement, but taking our mission statement to the next level. You want to start, give it a stab?
Not really. I'm really pretty new to this, and I'm absorbing a lot of information, and I will, for the most part, I stay quiet, and I still want to learn more, about how this all, how this should be put together and work. So
I appreciate your taking.
yeah, I just kind of want to hear what other people have to say, so I can, because this is not in my wheelhouse, I'll be honest.
Let me throw one out for you, and then you can steal it and take credit for it. How about, in serving the public, how about something like, continually strive to improve our public service and response time, in knowledge, and in performance, something that talks about where we're going with serving the public. Have you got better words?
Not really, Jeff. I'm a little bit lost what you're actually asking, but I think that you're right. We need to continually evaluate what we're doing and try to improve it.
So let me take you back. We just agreed pretty much to a mission statement. Our vision statement is going to be where we're going over the next 3 years, this moment in time. When are we doing this moving forward? Typically, what I see in vision statements, there's usually 4 or 5, and the first one should be always to our public, what we're serving. Now, when you get into big metro departments, frequently they'll talk about 1710, responding within a certain time frame. As you know, fire doubles every 45 seconds or so. We got the golden hour to package a patient, get him to the hospital. So almost always, when we're looking into the future, our vision statement, it drives to, we are continually trying to improve how we do what we do for the public. So we should coin something so that what will happen with this, and we'll print this for you, and it'll hopefully be throughout your department and your stations. You're gonna have your mission statement, and hopefully within a few months, everybody that works for you knows why we're here, why we exist. And then under it, we're gonna have 4 or 5 one-sentence lines about where we're going. Where are we taking this ship? Number one is we're gonna serve the public better, either faster, with better equipment, with better staffing, more staffing, whatever that may be. So that'll be normally your very first vision statement. We are, you as the elected officials are planning the future. We're going to spend time figuring out, what do we need? Do we need more substations? Do we need more firefighters? Do we need better equipment? How are we going to be able to get to the public more quickly? So that's the whole point of what the vision statements are, is where are we going?
This be a place to include a one-sentence line about we will strive to judiciously use our taxpayer dollars for transparency, accountability, and
spot on. That's one of them. One of them's got to be our people. We're going to do everything we can to educate, grow, support our people. So normally the first one is focused out to our community. That's why we exist. Normally the second one is focused on our people. Normally the third or fourth one is the CFO's job. We're going to make sure we're financially sound. We're going to use our taxpayer dollars as wisely as we can. So let's crystallize the very first one, focused on our people. How are we going to serve our people better? What would that look like? Now, this is, if you read Tualatin Valley's, quite frankly, this is the one thing that they've written that I don't like, because it's really all about just their service, and they've missed, I think, a critical boat on serving their people and being financially sound. I don't think they mentioned that anywhere in there. I don't remember seeing that.
But trusted in fire prevention, fire suppression, hazards, fire suppression, hazards, and EMS, working with community to improve safety, and then adapting to growth and values of community.
I'll just take a picture of it when we take it.
Okay, and what I'm going to do is break that down into 2, and what I'm going to make them, if you're comfortable, I'm going to make those futuristic statements. We are striving to. So we've knocked down the public. What we're going to do, as far as delivery services, our people services. Let's coin something about our greatest asset, our people. Because nothing happens here without people. In fact, I wouldn't say this to the public, the news, or I wouldn't say it to our firefighters. But I would rather have well-evolved, well-trained people than a brand new Pierce. You know, I like Pierce a lot, and I'm not supposed to have a favorite manufacturer, but, you know, I think it's more about the people than the stuff. We do need to have good stuff, but let's coin something about our people, and this particular statement, this particular vision statement should be the foundation of building culture, how we think about our folks. So let's take just a second and come up with a vision statement about where we want our people in 3 to 5 years.
I think something along the lines is we're going to show, you guys can word this better than me, we're going to show our people their value to us by continued training, support, peer support, and something about proper processes for hiring more people. It's in my head. It's in my head better than it came out of my mouth, but
It's
see where
not,
I'm going.
it's close.
I think that for me, when I look for the next 3 years, what I'd like to see, and I think most taxpayers want to see, is increased line staff, right? Make this a culture of a place where we have mentors, you know, because we are losing because of people are paying more, right, other places. So we only have so much money, right? We have to be fiscally responsible. So for me, I guess my vision statement would be something along the lines of, you know, to maintain a good, healthy core for the community, and, you know, but like getting our volunteers, let's get more volunteer firefighters that, you know, they're confident, right, and they want to come do the job. Have guys that are at the stations, right, and they're all fully staffed. That way, you know, if something happens, you know, that we're there.
Yeah. Okay, what right now, your biggest challenge from what I see in the fire service nationwide is the people issue. You have 2 challenges here in this community. Number 1 is Walton, Portland, Clackamas. You're going to train them and they're going to take them. And I love those 3 departments, but that's a fact. They're going to be able to pay more. They're going to be able to entice them with different benefits. So if we're going to build a core firefighters that love this community and stay in this community for the life of their employment, I'll tell you, the most expensive money you spend is trying to get and train people and then to lose them. I mean, that's a point in diminishing returns. You're going to lose every time on that. We've got to create some kind of culture, some kind of pay that's good enough to keep them, but an environment that says this is the best department in the state. Otherwise, if they don't go to Portland and to Walton and Clackamas, they're going to go to Seattle. They're going to go to South King. Pardon me?
Vancouver, right?
Yeah, they're gonna, and if they're solely money focused, and one of the things that we're going to work with you behind the scenes when we get to the goals is developing all the firefighters. You know, about half the firefighters you lose, you're not losing because of pay. You're losing for other reasons. We don't know. We most of us don't know what our firefighters are going through. And they're seeing stuff, living lives that's pretty hard. And they're going through divorce, they're going through bankruptcy. And we lose them not because they don't love this community, not because they don't want to stay here. They don't have a choice. So if we can address some of this and we can keep our firefighters long-term, that's a lofty vision and goal.
I don't know if this has to do with that, but I was gonna say, I came from the department where I was an intern, so they
Which
trained.
department?
Scout Group.
Sure.
So I was an intern there. They trained me in what they wanted me to do. They didn't have any current roles in the spot, like current positions. But then I ended up back there just because I had felt like they had done everything for me to get me to the point where I was. So I don't know if that's something we can end up looking at in the future. But that, I'll say it built I don't know the right word for it, but it ended up, low, that's a good light. So I wouldn't leave there for more pay. I wouldn't, just because I have that loyalty to the district over there as an employee. And so something we can look at here is trying to both people young from the communities around here
Well, and a good working environment too, right?
Healthy
I mean, at the end of the day, it's, yeah, you might not be getting as much money, but the working environment is, they have fun, I mean, 70% of the time, I think that the guys that are firefighters and I'm just, I think like 70% of the time, they're not doing a whole lot, but that's, they have days where there's not many calls and there's days when there's a whole bunch of calls, right? And they see the worst things, our emergency services in general, right? Firefighters, police officers, they see the worst of the worst, and like what Chief Smith said, like we help them on their worst day ever, and so to be able to do that job, even though people say, well, you only work 2 days a week, da, da, da. Well, that's 2 days of hell,
Yeah, it is.
So, and then to really, come through bad car wrecks and that kind of stuff, you're pulling somebody out, it could be your cousin, you know what I mean? Or your relative or a friend of the family. And to see that and still keep that, you're at the end of the day, it's their job, right? So they have their hard hat on, and they're going to work. And so sometimes I think that maybe to have somebody to talk to, like through that mentoring process, right? Like the younger firefighters, they're done, and an older one comes up and say, hey man, that's pretty bad. Just know that there's light, I think if there's anything wrong.
You're spot on. I'll tell you what, if we can not just make this a great place for our firefighters for their job, but if we can build a culture where when their shift starts, they're excited to get there, not the, oh, damn it, I gotta go to work syndrome. That's a good thing. So I brought cheap prizes. This is all last year's swag, so I'm getting rid of it. But feel special.
Comment on that, because what you guys just said is the reason that I'm here. I think it is, especially in our area, in our city, that camaraderie, that, and being able to keep. This isn't hope you're not getting that for me. No, I want to see that, you know what I mean? I want to see everybody have everybody else's back. I want to see a good department, all the EMS services, to where, they, like you said, they want to come to work, they live in the community, they work in the community, they want better for the community, and I want to make that happen. I don't want our guys leaving for other departments because if I get the more pay thing, but if you create a culture where people may not be getting paid as much, but like you said, they're having fun and they're enjoying what they're doing, even though it's a tough job, admittedly, right? But they come to work and they got the support of everybody around them. I'm not just talking about the line staff all supporting each other, but from the chief, from the board, everybody else is behind them and they're saying, hey, like you mentioned, like, hey, that was tough, man. Let's talk about it. Right. And so there isn't that burnout, there isn't that, does that make sense?
That's spot on. Page number 3, when you look at people and they leave, they'll tell you to your face, it's paid. Well, I'm getting a dime more at Fort Valley. But the truth is it's when you really drill down on it, it's number 3. When their kids are playing soccer here in town, their spouse is connected to the school board and they love going to work, they're not leaving for a nickel or a dime. And that's what you want. Longevity is important.
Kind of dovetail on what Mark was saying. I want to clarify this for people in virtual land and for us is when we talk about, it's not just our line staff. It is our general staff. It is our maintenance staff. It's our volunteers. It's our EMS only single roles, because it is, I know we classify everybody as firefighter, but ultimately at the end of the day, we have multiple positions and we are losing people. And we're losing experience, and we're losing institutional knowledge that it's going to take me years to get back to that in some of the divisions. So when we talk about this, when we talk about the vision statement, it needs to be all encompassing. It encompasses the entire organization, because we do have folks, and I 100% agree. I don't want our line staff to leave. I don't want our volunteers to leave. We need volunteers, because regardless of 1710 or 1720, which is our standards to cover, we kind of fall in a gray area in between. We don't have enough no one does. Scap Booth doesn't, Class 9, no one has enough to meet a 1710. Tualatin Valley, Portland, Clackamas, those big departments we can't. So we fall somewhere between 1710, which is career, and 1720, which is talking about volunteer response. So it is I just wanted to mark to your point, is that it is all encompassing that all of our members to make this organizational move needs to be addressed in our vision statement.
Everybody and the board, all of you. This is bigger than our mission statement, what we provide. This is about a culture of fiber of how we think as a team. So what we're going to do is we're going to take originally what was said about serve our community. We're going to do something with both paid and volunteer firefighters, include the entire staff, about their health, wellness, and fitness and in culture, building that culture.
How long does it take for a volunteer firefighter to come in the first day, they go down, they say, hey, I want to be a volunteer firefighter? And through, like, I'm the average, right? I'm not, there's obviously some people only have so much time, so it might take them 10 years to go through the thing, but. Like,
About, on average, it's about 6 months.
6 months?
Well, 6 months. So with the new program we started, trying to capture these people and keep them interested, we started at a level where they're not injured. So I called it the student level fire. So they come in, they can do stuff outside the hazard zone. They can change SCB bottles, they almost roll a hose. They go on medical calls. And then those that want to go on, then we do an academy. And with our bandwidth we currently have right now, we can do about 1 academy a year. So we do have people, I don't want to lose them. So we have lots of people that want to do it, but also there's a financial cost to it. So on average, it's about $4,000 just for their gear if they want to be a firefighter, not to mention any overtime or anything we have to expend to get them to there. So we can do about 1 academy a year.
And then is there any incentives for, like, currently in our policies or procedures to offer, because I know, becoming a paramedic, that obviously takes time and costs money, right? Because they gotta go to college.
Yes.
PCC or something like that. Is there any incentive programs that we currently have to help or something?
There is. We do have education to assist to get them to, up to EMT. If they go to paramedic school, yes, there's some things we can do. We can't pay the full ride.
Oh, I get it.
But if they come back, they passed, we can reimburse. So there is some. Again, we couldn't do 100 people, but we could definitely do several a year.
Okay. There may be something through, and maybe this isn't our vision statement, but I think that's to promote within our community, right? For public or community involvement, right? For our volunteers to come through the academy and then do all this stuff. I think that's where we'll get that retention, right? Because they are here. A lot of people don't live here. There's some people that live in Clackamas and drive all the way out here to St. Helens, to work. And they were here a long time. And I remember back in the day, it used to be, it was hard to become a firefighter, like to be an actual paid firefighter, right? Because they didn't hire very often. Now that's obviously flawed, but I think that's industry standard, right? I mean, like trying to find a good laborer, or an excavator guy, or a carpenter, or electrician, it's hard to find.
Ryan, to your point, to Austin's point about interns, we have a number of people that work for our organization right now that came up through the intern program. We haven't done interns in a number of years. And so that's one of the things we're talking about with 3215 about reinstituting the intern program, because it does build that loyalty. It does build that I want to work here. And again, it's not about the pay, it's about the culture of the organization. And so we've actually had discussions about that because we were successful. We have probably at one time, 25-30% of our department came up from intern, volunteer to a career person. So there is a lot of positivity for that.
I think that ties back, to where we're trying to go here with the value. How do we show our members in this statement, they walk into the station, that because we have a history with our members, and as union president, I talk to a lot of our staff, and over the past 3 years, it's not because of pay, it's not because of the station's old and smelly, or the ambulance has 200,000 miles on it. Most of the firefighters, that stuff matters, but they don't really care about that. It's value. They don't feel valued, like their opinion wasn't heard in the past. Their ideas aren't heard. So some sort of statement that shows we value you in your opinion. We send you to training to make you better. On and on. That's what I was trying to get at with my first statement.
If we do this right, we're building a series of webinars to round our people out. And I hinted earlier that pay is about a third, and people are leaving you for other reasons. But if we can teach people little things, how to manage your money, how to buy a house, You know, those two things are gonna keep people a long time. If you can't manage your money and you go bankrupt, you're probably not gonna be here very long. If you have a house in this community, you know, think twice before you move. It's an anchor piece. Teach people skills beyond squirting water and chopping holes, but teach them how to do presentations to the board. Prepare them for the next evolution. Here's the saddest thing in the world with this dangerous profession. You get a great firefighter and they like that position and they've never advanced or they've never prepared for anything else. And then they blow a knee and they can't go back to work. What are you gonna do with them? You know, they're a valued asset, but they're not gonna be dragging hose and squirting water anymore. And we have an obligation to them. What do we do with that human being? And I would argue that the very first day they come to work for us, we should start learning a career track with them, working with them. What do you want? Do you want to climb the ladder or is this the dream job and you've got it? If it is, we need to evolve them so that if they blow that knee, if they blow a back and they can't throw a ladder, where else could they fit in the organization? Would they want to be in pub ed? Would they want to be in prevention? You know, is there a home for them that we can get? The two saddest things for me is when we have a firefighter that goes out on injury, or we have a firefighter that retires unprepared. And I know that sounds funny, but one day you're going 60 miles an hour doing your job and you have an identity. You have a patch and a badge. And the next day you're retired. I get more suicides post-retirement than I do during the job. Most people don't know that. But when you leave, when you take off that uniform for the last day and you go home and you're painting the front deck, it's one of the million things on the honey-do list that you've got to do, and you don't have an identity anymore, the thing that's in your head the whole time is every call you ever ran on, every dead body you ever saw, forgive me if that's offensive, but all the things that you saw and did in your career, and too many people go to the dark side. So I belabored that a little bit. We got the first two, I think, anchored out. We're going to include volunteers, all staff in our people. The third one should be a financial statement. And if you're good with it, we'll coin it up. But the idea here is that we tie finances, what we have, with what we're spending for the future. So that we're nimble. If we lose money, we can react to it. If we pick up money, we know how to utilize that money. And we'll create a financial statement that says, hey, we are physically responsible with your dollars. We're going to spend them as wisely as we can, highest best purpose, and that'll be our third vision statement. I think we should look at least a fourth vision statement before we move on to values, and that would be us as a core leadership, how we lead, how we communicate as a team. Somebody compared it to Tawalt Valley a moment ago, and I think that's a great thing to do. I think we're always looking at who our competitors are. But I think we should have some kind of vision statement about the quality of the organization beyond what we're providing the service, but create a culture where we're proud to wear that patch, and something about how we believe in our team and the fact that we are going to be the best at what we do. Forward thinking. And I see blank stares. If you're good, we'll refine something and send it back for your approval unless somebody has some thoughts.
Right?
Pardon me?
Pride in our job.
Exactly.
Pride in our work. You know, that's kind of embodies everything that, as a firefighter or any good, profession. You want to take pride in your work, and, it makes you feel good, and it allows you to hold your head up high and want to wear that badge.
Yep.
And be out there in the public, so.
Sense of purpose keeps coming back in my head. I don't know why that is, but I feel like that needs to be somewhere.
Pardon me?
Sense of purpose. Kind of like you were mentioning about the retiring.
I'm gonna have a workers' comp claim. Oh, wait, I'm volunteering. I can't. Point that, or you got it? You got it? I'm gonna shift gears to values. And this is really a seminal piece for us. We live in a time after COVID where it is contentious. You've seen it. You've seen people in parking lots fight for a parking space. You've seen people just go absolutely berserk on a waitress, a waiter serving food. We live in a very fractionalized time where people will fight for no reason at all. Scream. You've all been someplace in public where somebody's just screaming about the fact they got mischarged, overcharged, their bagel was cold, whatever the case may be. And how we operate together as a team, what we value, is going to be the core to making all of this work. Do we respect each other? Do we value good communication, thorough communication? So I'm going to ask Dave Pickard to take values and help us coin, whether it's a word or a phrase, of what's important to who we are as a core. And I'm going to turn it over to Dave if you're.
Why don't we take like a 2-minute break? I'll switch the computer. You guys can get up and stand up and wake up.
This is
2 minutes.
The eyes are on.
Yeah.
Is it two of your members that are on?
Yep.
Yeah, cool. Well, this is fun. Are we got everybody back? Yeah. This is fun for me. I went to work in an organization that I was already there, but in 1999, we went through a transition and recreated organizational statements like we're talking about today. And one of the big pieces that we talked about was values. And so we're going to talk today about values and your personal values. And I think values keep us together or drives us together. I love that Jeff used a quote from Jack Welch. I think he's a great one to talk about, but you earlier on said this is out of your wheelhouse. Yeah, you've made some comments that are right in your wheelhouse. So I think it's good. All you guys are leaders in the organization now. It's awesome that you have your fire chief, your union leadership, and your board together. I don't know that you guys know how rare that is, but how powerful that is to make change in an organization. But the day you become a leader becomes about them. Your job is to walk around with a can of water in one hand and a cup of fertilizer in the other hand. Think of your team as a seed and try to build a garden. It's about building people. Only you will know the team. That's what you guys are doing today, right? You're building your team, and you have to do that. There's one more quote from Jack Welch. It's awesome. It says, the minute you move from being a task-oriented professional to being a manager of people, it stops being about your individual talents, your successes, and starts being all about coaching, motivating, teaching, supporting, removing roadblocks, and finding resources for your employees. Leadership is about celebrating their victories and rewarding them, helping them analyze when things don't go to plan. So for your chief, this is the challenge right here, is it's easy to be a task guy, right? You talked about trades. I love the trades. It's not easy to be a trade, but to go be the welder or go be the framer, not too bad. To go be the leader, then it starts getting out of your wheelhouse for all of us. That starts getting harder. So that's part of what we're going to talk about today a little bit. We built values in a couple organizations I was in. The values have to be built collectively amongst all of you. You have to do it as a group. So this is one organization's values. We'll talk about these in a minute. This is another one that we built. And these are just values that we voted on as we worked through and kind of came together. So we'll come back to some of these values. And I'm going to challenge you guys in a minute so you can start thinking about it. What are your personal values? What makes you tick? What makes you go? So I love this analogy. It's lonely at the top. So the chief, union leadership at the board, when you start in the fire service, you start down here. We've talked about volunteers, career, you got all kinds of friends, right? Everybody's your buddy, good living, you don't have any problems. And as you slowly start moving up in any role, whether it be a board member, a chief, union leadership, it starts to get really lonely at the top. And you start looking around like, hey, I don't have any help down here. There's nobody else. So when you're sitting in the chief spot, it's a lonely spot to be. That's for you guys as a board to make sure you support your chief and help him understand that, hey, he's alone up here. He needs that support. Now, the chief has to be at the top and do that, but you gotta have support too. I pick on Dustin, new union leader, okay? Everybody's Dustin's buddy for a while, now he's union leader. About 48% are his buddy, about 48% aren't, and the other 4%, we don't know what's gonna happen, right? But that's just the way it works. So we all make mistakes and errors. The higher we rise in leadership positions, the greater the consequences to our mistakes. So part of why we're here today is to look at those consequences of how we grow as a group. So just a little touch on leadership as we talk about values. I'm a big fan. Anybody heard of a credo? So a credo is kind of your core. What makes you stick? What makes you be who you are? This is a credo we created a while back. We are humble professionals that continually strive to maintain trust with our members and the people we serve. We've talked about organizational statements today. You have a mission. That's what everybody follows, that mission. The vision comes from the organization or comes from the fire chief. We maintain integrity at all times. We recognize we are always under the watchful eye of the community we serve. I think every one of you talked about community, right? Why you're here is for community. If you drive around with a billboard that's red and shiny, has lights and sirens on, and you mess that up and ruin that integrity, how hard is that to get back? Takes a while to get back, right? So you're always under the watchful eye. And then we serve with care and compassion. In the paramedic world, if you lose your care, you lose your compassion, get out. Yeah, you can't do it without caring. So if you don't have it, get out. Time has come. So values. Let me tell me what quickly what a value, Austin, tell me what a value is to you. You can cheat if you want, I don't care.
Belief of person, fundamental beliefs of a person or organization.
Okay, is that a good value term? I don't know, I stole from some, no, I didn't. Give me one more.
Values, well, for me, values is how I conduct myself and the person that I want to portray, right? And wake up every morning, you know, and I decide I'm gonna have a good day, you know? I might have a bad moment, but I'm gonna have a good day, you know?
I like that. Good, one more.
Integrity.
Good. These are my notes, I'll write them cleaner in a second. So principles. Let me tell them, what's a principle?
It's the actions that demonstrate your values.
Good, it is, and that's what's up there. You have to have a principle if you have a value. If you have a value, you have to act in that value. Value is not only a noun, it's a verb, it's how you do things. So give me another idea of principle, Dustin.
Kind of like Rick says, I think it's the core tenet of what you use to implement your values, like a process, I guess, roadmap.
So how you implement your values is great,
Yeah.
right? So you have these values, you might write them on a board, but how you implement this is different. I don't do it anymore, but I'll share a little thing. If you interviewed with me for a fire service job, one of my questions always was, tell me your three personal values. You know how many people cannot name off 3 personal values? I'm giving you guys a hint because you're gonna have to write down 3 personal values in a minute. But when you ask that in an interview process, and then you expand on that, well, if one of your core values is integrity, define that for me. If they have to define honesty or trustworthiness, I'm not really worried about it. We got a problem, right? But other values, a little bit different. So I want you guys to each write down 3 personal values.
Jim? Yeah, we can 11:30, well, we're good here. Yeah, that works. Thank you, bye.
Chief, will you write down 3 personal values?
I can tell you 3.
If they're in your mind, you don't have to write them down, but don't tell me yet.
All right.
That's a good answer. You passed the interview right there. Okay, Rick, 3 personal values.
Honesty. I'm not sure what we call this, but I'd say treat people the way you want to be treated.
Okay, how about the golden rule?
Okay. Punctuality.
Awesome. Do you hate it when people are late?
I'm always early.
Good. Dustin.
Integrity. My second is hard work.
Good.
My third would be compassion for all.
All right,
Okay, do
Chief.
you want somebody up there with you, or you got it?
I'm okay.
All right.
What are yours?
I had, well, same with Rick, I had honesty. To me,
Perfect.
that was my first one.
Okay.
Respectful, professional.
Good, Mark.
Mark's over there, that's Ryan.
Wait, hang on, Ryan.
Oh.
Sorry, I was trying to
Jeff, you're
memorize
supposed to have
names. I'm
name
gonna get it.
tags for us out here.
Nope, I wrote it down. I'm gonna memorize that. That's my challenge. Ryan.
Core values, family.
Awesome.
My kids, there's nothing I wouldn't do for my children.
Awesome.
Trustworthiness and dependability.
Dependability. Great. Who have I not got yet?
Brian.
Brian.
Mark. I found it
Bill.
up here, honesty, integrity, and loyalty.
Sweet. Honesty, integrity, and loyalty. Okay. So, a little bit of the exercise first. Awesome. I love that these are here. Hard work. Who said hard work? Hard to come by these days, isn't it? So hard work is hard to come by, but it's a great value to have. Family. Ask people about their family. I have 3 boys. I heard Jeff talking about baseball. I have 2 kids that graduated from college, played college baseball, one playing right now. I don't know a dang thing about baseball, but I learned something about my son in baseball. He played at U of O, so if you're a Beaver fan, sorry. But then he left and he used to have to go to a JUCO after he left a D1 school. So he flew to Texas and he interviewed, the coach was interviewing him to be on the team. He was a catcher. And the coach said, and I'm sitting there and I'm not a baseball guy, but it's kind of an intimidating environment. And the coach says, what's the most important thing about being a catcher? And he says, I need to know every one of my pitchers individually. I thought, oh, that's a pretty good answer. Proud of my son. Where'd that come from? He says, I have to know when I walk out on the mound if I need to slap him on the ass or kiss him. He said, I have to be nice to him or chew him out because they all react differently. Family's huge. It's the same thing with your family in the fire service. You as the leader have to know how all those people react. There's some that react totally different. So know your people, know your family, get to know them. Go ask them, hey, what makes you tick? Because if I went and asked Austin something about what Austin likes, what do you like? What's a hobby you like to do?
Hiking.
Hiking. So do you get excited to talk about hiking? Sometimes. Do you get excited talking about being a firefighter?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. So, but if you find somebody that ticks what they get excited about, talk to them about that. Because work's not always fun to talk about.
This reminds me of, like, I learned a long time ago, I wear many hats.
Yeah.
In my trade, and there's some people who I have to go in when things are not good, so I have to unscrew the situation.
Mhm.
First thing I do when I walk into someone's hospital, I'll look on their desk and I'll see a picture. If they got kids or something like that, I'm like, hey, your kid plays baseball, mine does too. Find that commonality.
Absolutely.
Down, and then the walls start to come down, right? That way you can have a civil conversation, but I also add on that one humility, what I mean? It takes a lot.
We're going to talk about humility, so
A good
thank you.
leader needs to be humble, right?
You guys saw that in that credo, right? We are humble professionals. When you guys deal with the organization, like from your level, and you take this tool back to the organization, you need to find out those common things that make those walls come down. It's not work. I always say you've got faith, family, finances, and friends and work. And if the first 4 are working, the 5th one will be just fine. If any of those first 4 aren't working, guess what? The 5th one isn't gonna work. So it's the top ones.
I think we should look at this, like the fire, when we're doing these, is what do we want to be known for? When we die on our heads, is it I was a hard worker, all this, and then I was a good family man, or do you want, I was a loving father, loving husband or wife,
Absolutely.
you know what I mean, or mother, that kind of stuff. So priorities.
Priorities, awesome. That is why we're talking about values. Because if we can all bring our core values together, we will do well together. If you guys can bring your core values of the organization together, the organization will be tighter and stronger if you find those things that bind. So why I do
There's one
this.
other one I agree with you on humility, I think it is, but also inclusiveness. It is, and it's the point that Dustin made too, that the only way this organization or any organization moves forward is you have to have the buy-in of the membership, you have to have the buy-in of the board, you have to buy in the staff. And everybody has to feel they have a voice. That's what we talked about previously in the day. So having that people feel that they can give their opinion or their idea, throw it out there, and it's not going to be ridiculed or kicked to the curb. That there's merit despite everything anybody says, and we can find something we can possibly use.
Perfect. So why I do this is we start to find common ground that we all have. That we talk about. I want to talk about professionalism real quick. Is the union officers, union says we are professional firefighters, right? So what I challenge that is, if you say you're a professional firefighter, what does that mean? What's it mean to be a professional firefighter?
Proficient in your skills, professional to the community, and looking professional.
Awesome. How you look, how you present yourself. Can you be a professional firefighter and not be a union member? Absolutely, right? And sometimes that doesn't always, so you gotta figure that out. But being a professional means you're good at what you do. That means you maintain your skills. You train on your own. You don't ride in the recliner all the time. You get up and you train even when you should on a Saturday morning. You're doing things like this to be professional. So what I challenge you guys to do is to go back and do this same exercise with your organization and develop a list that looks like that says, this is what makes this board inclusive of your values, and this is what makes your organization inclusive of your values. And let everybody have input, and you'll learn a lot about people when you do that. You know, I learned, you're a contractor, right? What's your trade?
Construction, excavation.
Awesome. So, you know, you learned something. Austin has a board role and a firefighter role. He told me earlier, and he would share with you guys, they're two big different roles. You learn a whole lot in the board role, you learn a whole lot in the union role, you learn a whole lot in the chief's role. It's lonely at the top. And so your values are what bring you back together. So the exercise is go back and do this at a different time as you build your organizational statement. Says, what are your values? You guys have a great set of values. And then the last one I would talk about in humility is be the best at what you do, but be humble. And then right here, I love this one. And this is, so if somebody quickly define candor.
Ask an honest question, get an honest answer.
Give an honest answer. As you guys work through this, give an honest answer. Share candidly how you feel. That's why you move forward as you go through it. So awesome. I'm glad you guys all had 3 personal values, but use that, find common ground that exists with those, and then build your values for your organization.
You coined it, and what we're trying to drive through here is 3 key issues for each of you. Number 1 is presence, and it doesn't mean that you're there, but it means you're present in mind and body. You're doing your job. Number 2 is professionalism, that we're doing it at the highest possible level for the profession. Number 3, and this is the hardest one for all of us, is conduct. How we treat each other, how we treat civilians, how we treat each other at the board meeting and our staff. That points who we are. So the first half of this was mission, vision, values. We know where we're going. We know who we are. We know how we think. We know the key issues. Now we're going to get into the part where you have a lot of work to do. We're going to get into the SWOT report, strengths, weaknesses, threats, and opportunities. We're going to take all of those things, we're going to rate them, and we're going to come out with probably 4 to 5 lifelong goals. So the strategic plans we found that work the best will define something operation-wise or through the chief or financially that doesn't change over time. We're going to be financially sound. Under that goal, we're going to have 2 or 3 objectives that we're going to do within 18 months to 3 years. And under each of those objectives, and each goal will have 2 to 3 objectives. Under those objectives, we will quit at that juncture, but we will work with staff to fill in the action items. So as we started with SMART, it's got to be something that's time sensitive, that's definable, that you know when you hit the finish line. So our goal today is to get our goals set, our objectives set, assign a person who's in charge of them. And then the next thing that you'll see from us is a booklet not unlike these. It will have a summary of everything we did today, mission, vision, values, the goals and the objectives, and then staff will fill in the individual action items to get us to the finish line. So the critical thing is, as we define our objectives, is to have that finish line. What is finished? Otherwise, we're kind of a ship without a rudder. So now you're going to work. You thought today was just going to be, it was going to make a joke. Each of you had an assignment. What are our internal strengths and weaknesses? And I'm going to ask if I can have you two, Dave Pickard and Jennifer, scribe these down as you write them out. So just throw them up, and we're going to start with.
On the board, or do you want to hear?
Let's do them up here, and I'm going to pull these off and stick these on the wall.
One of us will fall today, and you guys get to watch. Since I did this comp, it should be a really interesting accident report. When Jeff gets hurt and files a claim and I'm gonna be the witness on it, that'll be another awkward report to submit.
I don't want you too close to Pickard.
Separate us.
Wow.
I'm protecting Pickard.
Oh.
I got an extra cup of coffee this morning, you can tell.
Anybody play golf? Okay, you get the tees.
Well, or at all.
No, just at all.
Just at all.
And I'm giving you something more later, but at least you got two picks.
Is there a team in town?
That's fun.
All right, let's start with our strengths. And just throw them out. If we can, we're gonna probably put them in as one word or a short sentence. What are the strengths of this department today?
Highly skilled employees.
I agree with that. Highly skilled employees.
They have to do a lot more and a lot less compared to the rest of the world.
Other strengths,
But, possibility for growth.
opportunities, growth.
And then I also, not that our stations are the nicest right now, but I think our locations for where the stations are good, well spread out. I don't know how you put that in a sentence, but
Good foundation. Good foundation for expansion.
I think now we're,
strange way.
I think we're open-minded. And we're not so closed off to where, you know, like, it's my way or the highway type
Yeah.
of stuff. Along with that would be inclusive. And then also communication.
Communication, so important.
One of our union members was watching text me and said we are open and willing to support change.
I like that.
Tell
Tell them
whoever that
thank
is,
you.
thank you for paying attention and chiming in online.
Good job, Robert.
Good job, Robert, thanks.
Robert, we got a beer drinking cup for you here that we'll send home.
The Blue Solo Cup.
The blue, yeah. Any other strengths? I would argue that your leadership right now, and I don't know what the dynamics are internally, but an awful lot has happened in the last 6 months. And I think we got a lot more to happen, but things are gelling together. So I would argue, yeah, I think whatever leadership is doing, you know, in the 60s, everybody called it the carrot and the stick. Well, the stick doesn't work. You know, just quite frankly, what happens when you use the stick, one of three things happen. Either people quit, they go underground, you know, they don't want to play anymore. Or they actually will be subversive. They're going to sabotage you every time they get a chance. So whatever's going on right now, I'm seeing a culture that is actually headed in a great direction. And so I want to thank you, and I want to thank the management team. You're getting the job done, and it's hard, as Pickard pointed out. It's a little lonely up there.
Can I have one thing on that real quick? Inclusive. And I appreciated what you said when you brought up, it's not just, and I don't want to steal words, it's not your organization is leadership, it's the administrative staff, it's whoever greets the public at the front counter, it's your finance person, it's your union, it's your volunteers, it's your single roles. So you recognize that, I think, as Jeff said, that inclusive nature is huge. If a single role person doesn't feel welcome by the firefighters, then when they're doing the most of the work anyway, right? But if you don't appreciate that single role, then you have completely missed the boat. So they're allowing some of the firefighters to sleep at night sometimes too. So,
I'm going to close up strengths unless somebody has something burning that we didn't throw up there. Any strengths we missed? Let's go internally what our weaknesses are.
Some way to say a service model that hasn't changed.
We'll tear these two. Nice job.
I do want.
Yeah, outdated service model.
What do you mean by that?
We haven't evolved with the times. It's fire service has become a more EMS centric service, it appears, and we haven't found we're working on it. We haven't really found a way to evolve to meet those needs yet.
how many structure fires you guys have in 2023?
I want to say 25 or 26.
How many EMS calls?
6,000.
All right,
6,000.
good point, thank you. Yeah. Another weakness.
How's our equipment?
have aging fleet. I also have our current facilities.
Infrastructure.
Aging, yeah, infrastructure. Current turnover rate. Current view from public. Still working on that.
I think, since we're being fully transparent here and honest, I think that part of like our financial plan, I think that we need to get our budget versus actual stuff. So, and like get that reporting software up and running efficiently and use it the way it was intended is what I'm hearing the reason why we don't have that. Basically what we're looking for. That way the guys can see, you know, hey, you know, you spent, it should be like a line item of everything, right? Hey, I budgeted this much and then we're spending this much. Well, why did you spend this much, right? Oh, maybe we can reel that back.
Financial plan reporting.
Something like that.
Other weaknesses,
Communication.
drill down on that.
I would say from the top down, I feel like, I mean, it's a weakness for everybody. I think that
Yeah.
everywhere in the world, communication is a weakness and can always be better. But knowing from every member, how we can improve, I think at this point in our time, we need to hear every voice we can. And I think we can do a better job of trying to hear every voice and work together as a team. So.
I would say that, I think that the communication is, I don't think that's necessarily one of our weaknesses. I think that the communication is what got us to where we're at now, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like going down and talking and encouraging, you know, board members to go down and talk with the chief and, you know, talking, Dustin even said, there's really there's no fires there that needs to be addressed right now, right? There's not, you know, there isn't. I don't think. So, I mean, do we have things to work on? Yes. You know, does change happen overnight? No. You know, do we have other little bumps and stuff? Yeah. But we're working with CRFR.
I was also gonna say, I can't think of the right term, but youth in terms of most of us are pretty new board members.
Sure.
Chief Smythe's kind of new to being a head chief.
How about experience?
Experience, that's good.
We're about to have an extremely young staff
Yeah.
with the highest percentage less than 8 years of experience. So we ran the numbers the other day and it's,
Chief was talking about volunteers and he was spot on as far as the cost of getting one and then getting them through the program is about 6 months. What should be added to that, so you know, they're a valued individual at about 2 years. It takes about 2 years of experience before they're at their peak. So turning them before 2 years is expensive.
Well, then they have probationary period too, right? And then they go through the volunteer program, they pass, and then they have to go to the national, you know, like a national certification.
No, we do it, it's all in-house.
Oh.
It's all in-house.
I think one to add is we are understaffed.
Yep.
And that's not necessarily a budgetary understaffed. That's an attrition versus how long it takes to bring someone on.
I think I have attrition on there.
Oh, got it.
I don't know if this one fits, but underfunded.
Sure it does.
Did you just say raise taxes?
Did not say raise taxes, I said underfunded.
Brian, this is being recorded. Let's not freak the public out.
You know what's kind of cool here? Is if you dissect this list a little bit, aging fleet and facilities are really hard to fix, okay? That's just, I think you guys already started fixing everything else on here. This whole outdated service model in the fire service isn't going away. You hit the nail on the head, you're right on, but it's kind of cool, your list. You've already started fixing communication, it's on one of your strengths. So that's just, not gonna happen overnight, but I don't see anything on here you can't fix, except aging facilities take time.
I want you to hit in your mind, pause for a second and look forward 3 years. It's a long ways away. But look forward 3 years where we need to be at, and we need to add those in as weaknesses. What do you see today that may not be a problem today, but in 3 years is going to be a crisis for us that we can avert? Can you think of anything that's...
Or it's gonna be tough to avert. I mean, it's an overall issue countywide with every service we have, but we are growing in Columbia County way faster than our services are keeping up with it. I know everybody in this room has that, from law enforcement to us to mental health. The growth is actually.
Growth and funding.
Yeah.
No additional funding to go with the growth.
Well, it's not just,
keeping up.
the problem is it's not just funding. What's killing, and I'm sure you guys have heard this, is gosh damn enterprise zones. So we have the city has got a massive enterprise zone, so anything that comes in the city is in the enterprise zone. So the fire department, public safety, law enforcement doesn't get any of those funds, and we're asked to do more. So we're talking more people moving in, and they're like, well, there'll be more people building houses. Well, that's great, but those take time, and I don't see a 500-home subdivision coming into the Columbia River. So if you're gonna build a Home Depot, Lowe's, and $1 billion plant, the fire department's gonna respond there. When Boise was operational, we were running 2-3 times a day to it, and this place is gonna have 3 times the employees. If it comes to fruition in the city limits, I mean, if it does, it will have a direct impact. This apartment complex over here, we didn't plan that. There's no money coming from it. We're already getting 2 calls a day, 3 calls a day out of that place. And it's not even fully tilted.
How is that sustainable?
It's not.
It's not.
Well, one thing that I find interesting too is Columbia County Mental Health has how many facilities now?
Oh, I have a pre-app next week for a gigantic one going right over here next to the
Yeah, so we're focusing as a community on mental health, which I do agree we need to. I'm not saying don't, but you can't leave other services in the, you know, you can't be so narrow-minded just and have tunnel vision to think, okay, so we're gonna focus just on mental health. I mean, part of that is, you know, everything needs to adapt and change and grow, right? And I feel like with the constraints that we have, that the cities that have really put on us, you know, because they were kind of narrow-minded when they saw just, you know, these enterprise zones as a way to, you know, get more people here, but they're not thinking about the services that they need, right? So now all of a sudden, okay, let's focus on mental health. Well, I mean,
That's a state issue. That
It
straight
is,
from the
it is,
state.
it is.
Yeah.
You, just so you know, your associations are working on that. We have, in every major community, we have these huge enterprise zones where we are required to respond and have no revenue.
so it's the burden of the taxpayers, you know, that you know, we have to.
It's a burden of the organization. Do some quick math points. We do 500 times 350. I can't do it in my head.
1650.
About 165,000.
175.
175.
Chief, you brought up a point. I think it's great for the board too. You bring 500 homes into your community, about $350 a year is the taxes that come out of that to the fire district based on whatever your percentage is. If you get 175,000 out of those 500 homes, that'll buy you
Not even a full.
what?
Not even a full FTE, maybe one firefighter.
Maybe one
Maybe
firefighter,
one.
right? I'll give you
If he doesn't get a
firefighter
raise.
benefit. So
The cost of living.
That's a firefighter, paramedic costs.
Yes.
there you
North
go.
of that.
So just good, it's, I always like to bring back to reality is that this brings calls and this brings problems, but it also brings 175,000.
But the bigger problem is to build 500 homes, it could take them 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, you're not
They
gonna see this
could put 5,000 people here on 10 acres right here in the span of, it took them 2 years to build that. And I've got 3,000 more people in our district that we didn't have last, 2 years ago.
Just a weakness. I don't know where that fits in there.
Let's close up weaknesses, and this is important because this is gonna be what drives our goals. What other internal weaknesses? We talked about equipment, we talked about facilities, we talked about people, lack of people. What else are we missing? It's a weakness.
For a 3-year one, and I know we've touched on this a lot, recruitment and retention long term over the next 3 years.
One more, anything else?
I think that of the ones that they're considered a weakness, I think trust is a factor that you have to have in there. If people trust that the organization is going the right way, it's being led appropriately, and we have the funding, people tend to feel a little more warm fuzz about the organization. And we don't have that, so that's something we're trying to build back up.
We're building on,
Because without that, none of those other things will make any sense. It won't matter.
we won't be here.
I agree. I think that, you know, you can't please everybody all the time, but that trust is a big deal, right? Because most people don't. And they just want to know that they're, if they have to make that phone call, someone's going to show up.
Well, and with trust goes along with what Dustin said, value. If the employee feels valued and trusts the organization, then they're more apt to, maybe I won't do it, right? Maybe I'll stick it out.
Thank you, Nate. You know,
I think we just contemplate.
all right, externally, opportunities. What do you see that's external in our area that is an opportunity for us?
Can you elaborate? External opportunities.
Sure.
Regarding,
Or, you know, outside agencies,
I'll give you one. Opportunities external. How's your relationship with law enforcement?
Pretty good.
I think it's pretty good.
Pretty good.
In the community, we got
How about the hospital system? You don't have it, but how's that?
I think that most of our paramedics do a really good job, and the doctors respect them when they show up. They have a good relationship with the hospital system.
Those are opportunities external. How do you build external relationships with, and then you guys brought up your community. How do you rebuild? Do you have an opportunity to change the community view?
I think unity with the board, admin, and
Yeah,
our
more
line staff,
burn.
right? That way, if they see everybody's talking and everything is good, then, that would
Well,
hopefully lead into more volunteers.
good point. I didn't catch
You know
it.
what I mean?
But, yeah, if you can,
And that
if you
building
can
that
respond, that'd be
trust,
great. Can't,
because
okay.
obviously we have hurdles, and
Thanks, sir. Bye.
so we have to have that trust.
What's your APOT time right now? Ambulance patient offload time when you take a patient in town?
You mean hospital transport?
Yeah.
It varies anywhere between 20 minutes and a half an hour. Yesterday, I lost an ambulance for an hour because St. B's could not offload the patient.
So that's
Yeah,
actually
we got to
not
stop on
bad.
St. B's. I can't. It drives me nuts because the problem is that a hospital won't fix Columbia County anyway, because it'd just be a dog and cat clinic. We'd be transporting people out there all the time. It wouldn't be a true hospital. It'd just be more of a really advanced urgent care. But the problem is the distance that our crews have to drive. Scappoose is a lot shorter. They have a quicker turnaround.
Yep.
We have a longer transport time. The hospitals, the traffic's getting worse. Highway 30, ODOT's talking about having almost an hour and a half to get from Portland through Scappoose. And so we're gonna lose ambulances for what we're losing now, 45 minutes to an hour. We might be losing for an hour and a half, 2 hours. And with our service delivery and mental health and all the things we have to go, we run 3 times the calls Scappoose runs. We run 7 times the calls Class County runs. So for us, we can't afford enough personnel to handle everything. We have ideas that might work, but ultimately we're on an island. It's Columbia County. We have to unless we put them on a barge, the only way to get there is Highway 30 corridor. And so that's a issue for us, and it's going to continue to be for moving forward.
We've got departments in the Seattle area that have a 4-hour APOT time. So they went from 15 minutes from delivering the patient, offloading the patient, back in service to 4 hours. My thought process with threats and opportunities is our APOT time. We're looking at the number of calls we're running, the amount of time it takes now if we're going through Portland traffic, I mean, your APOT's going to be well over an hour, hour and a half. So we got somebody out of service. We got a crew out of service. And as we're stacking those up, now we're getting multiple calls. It's a problem. So I would see either a threat or an opportunity to try to address that.
Well, and Jeff, to the point is that, at least as far as I know, and some of you guys live there a lot longer than I have, they haven't built a new hospital anywhere in the Portland metro area that I'm aware of, a hospital, true
And
hospital. They're not going to. So the issue is the wintertime, when we have folks that are sick more, especially when COVID, they were inundating the emergency rooms and ambulances were having 30, 45 minutes. I worked out in Las Vegas. I remember standing in line for an hour and a half with 20 gurneys in front of me with patients on because there was no place to put them. And we were locked up at the hospital. And our guys are seeing that more and more often now, especially when they go on divert, that there's no place to put the patients.
There isn't. We have departments started in Washington and now it's happening in Oregon that are billing the hospital for extended APOT time.
Opportunity.
So that's why I brought that up as
I had that one.
how can we recoup that revenue if we have a standing asset that's out of service because the hospital's not doing their job? Is there an opportunity there for us either to recoup revenue or get the hospital to do their job right?
Well, we're still on opportunity, right?
Opportunity.
So there's a couple opportunities. There
we
are.
put that one under a threat?
That would be a threat. An opportunity still is that we are working with the city. I have had conversation with the city about if they do have these larger companies come in, what can they do to maybe facilitate or help them? Because they're not gonna be paying taxes. What can they do to potentially help with some of our either aging infrastructure or our apparatus? They can't give us money for personnel, but if we can cover the personnel costs, can they help us with our equipment? our stations are in okay position 30 years ago, but as growth goes between us and Scappoose, we're gonna have more calls going that direction, and then the train, we're having more oil trains. So there's all these things that we have to factor in. I need another station on that side of the railroad tracks, and I need to be able where it's on the highway so we can get out faster. So those are things we could, and we are gonna go talk to, Dustin, I had a conversation about this the other day, going to Columbia County Mental Health and saying, what can you do to support us? Because we don't have the resources to go transport every time, and they're gonna put a drug and alcohol rehab facility here, which is great for those folks, but those folks tend to go to the hospital a lot too, which means it's gonna be a bigger strain on our 911 system. We're there for the chest pains, shortness of breath, and motorcycle accidents. That's what we're supposed to be doing, but we're taking people that just need to go to another facility, and that's taking resources, educated and experienced resources out, and not being able there for when somebody's having a true medical emergency.
I have some thoughts on that.
Okay?
Just a point of reality, if you look 3 years down the road, tell you what everybody believes is gonna happen to emergency services. Your call volume is gonna go up radically. You're gonna be doing a lot more EMS calls. Your revenue is gonna just lag behind because of how the tax system works, but it's gonna be compressed because of enterprise zones. So you're gonna be more demand, less revenue to take care of it, and less people. So we're always gonna be this futuristic need versus reality. This gorge between the two is only gonna get worse. Threats, opportunities. Any opportunities, police was hinted at working with, any opportunities working with the healthcare, police? Is there a third party here that we can work with? I know a lot of my departments are actually trying to work with some kind of intermediary group in Eugene. I think they're called Cahoots. There's other ones around the state that have popped up where they have state or federal money where we're offloading patients there. We're triaging basic life support versus advanced life support. Any groups that we can coordinate with to cut down our run volume or the time we're on a run?
What about other opportunities? I'm gonna ask this towards Eric. Nina's job. She's a help to us.
And she still is, even though she's under Scappoose umbrella.
Maybe expanding that.
It's my
As an
understanding.
opportunity.
No, absolutely, Rick. I believe it's my understanding is that Care Oregon is looking to expand that.
Okay.
In fact,
Community paramedic.
community
Community
paramedic.
paramedic, I was gonna ask
What
what the
it's
role
called.
was.
Yeah, she's the community paramedic and she goes out and sees people in their home and she's a big help.
You guys have you have,
So we did, and our chief decided not to continue the process, and now it's at Scappoose, but they're looking to expand. And again, it's just the host agency. She comes in our district, she goes into Clatskanie, she goes to Benoni, Miss.
it's a great program.
It is, especially when we have, people that call us multiple times. Before we had Nina, I would say we'd have 10 or 12 people that called us probably 20 or 30 times a year. So that's 400 or 500 calls. And she was able to help find those people the resources they needed to stop. She still is. And we have somebody like that. We turn them over to Nina, and Nina makes contact and tries to find some ulterior treatments for them that doesn't involve calling 911 because they get their toe hurts and they have no way to get to the hospital.
Yeah, they build a relationship with community paramedics, which is awesome.
So there's two issues you're gonna be faced with more in the future. You're faced with today. If you analyze your runs, you're doing a lot of basic life support that probably you don't have to do. And I have to be careful because we serve the public, but there's some scraped knees that would be great if we could find a different vehicle to do those. Advanced life support, no question, we gotta be there, we gotta be spot on. And it's tragic if we're working on a scraped knee and we don't have the staffing to do the advanced, the more critical, and that's a reality. The second thing, and I wanna choose my words carefully, and I don't know who's online, but we got frequent flyers. Okay,
He goes on, he goes on, he knows.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna say this as delicate as we can. We have people that are overusing the system. We're the first people they call, and they shouldn't call us. Bariatrics is a good example. I've got one district that has a bariatric patient. The lady is a senior, and she's close to 800 pounds, I think, is what they think she is. Big, this is a big patient. They've got calls because she's lost her remote control.
Yeah.
Okay.
Isn't there something that we currently have a policy where they call for
I say they just basically need to write in the air bill.
So there, we don't have a policy. We've had discussions on this. And to Jeff's point, it's not, we don't have as many because with the community paramedic program, those have cut down. If we go to somebody more than probably 3 or 4 times, some of the guys, Dustin will send her an email, say, hey, we've been on this guy 3 or 4 times. Could you please make contact? And she's doing it. It sounds like Carrollton's going to expand that. We have a problem is we have facilities that are abusing it. Nurse or CNA goes, I don't want to deal with this guy, punt, and they want these guys to come take him to the hospital because they want him out there because I work a 12-hour shift. And if I can get this guy out of here, night shift, I'll deal with him anytime he comes back. And this is my 3rd day of DO in a row, and we've gone to a facility right over here 4 times for the same guy. In fact, all yesterday, we went 4 times. And that's their job, is to take care of that. So if it's pain management, that's their job. But they don't want to because the individual is not friendly or whatever the reason is. Well, it's easy. I'll just call 911. These guys will come take him, and I'll get him out of here for 4, 5, 6 hours. And he's out of my hair. And we're seeing that a lot here. And CCMH is one of my concern. They're doing it right because the people need it, but I don't think they need an ALS paramedic ambulance to take somebody to.
Is there an opportunity here of it? Teaching kids at school, teaching the people that are misusing us, the urgent cares that actually use us to do the urgent work. Is there an opportunity here that you see where we can cut down our run volume so that we're more focused on the real high need of advanced life support versus basic? What are your thoughts?
There's probably an operational component to going out, and I know that we've done this in the past, and those places have such a turnover that you talk to one director and then the new one's in the next day, but there has to be, everybody loves the word committee, there has to be some sort of getting all the stakeholders in the room from law enforcement, because they're going to the same places we are, and coming up with a countywide policy of how we're going to deal with this kind of stuff. Because right now you go to this call and they say, I want to go to the hospital. You can't say no.
You can't.
We know that it's unnecessary and we're taking a valuable resource out of service. We have a caller at one of these facilities that calls us probably every single night because they just want to ride into Portland, and we go. So it's.
Can CCMH provide their own?
Well, that's what I was gonna get at.
That's a whole other can of worms, but yes, is there a possibility of it? Or could they maybe help fund some stuff for us? Maybe. That's what we gotta have that conversation. But it's not just Columbia. It's not just Columbia County, because I'm aware of hospitals in Portland that are calling for interfacility transports to go from one facility to the other. And if it's a non-emergent, AMR's telling them it can take up to 4 days. So now, which is what, and the reason I'm bringing this up is our urgent care does the same thing. They'll call for a code 1, and I'll say, put it in pending. I'm gonna keep my one last 911 call or car available in the district. And they'll wait 5 or 10 minutes and go, oh, he's bad now. It's a code 3, and they'll tell CCOM, he's got trouble breathing. They know the keywords now, and they're just about as abusive as a frequent flyer for us, because they don't want to deal with them anymore. They just want an ambulance to come take it away. And so we've been putting them in holding, so we can, until we get a rig back, because it's not that, Mark blew his knee out and his knee really hurts, so they don't want to deal with him anymore. It's that person having chest pain, trouble breathing, got stabbed, got shot, something horrible. That's what we're keeping 911 for. So Mark, you're gonna have to live with it. I think there's an opportunity here to have better relations, but as Dustin said, urgent care be one thing, but at these adult care facilities, the turnover for the supervisors and nurses is so much. I can meet with you this week, and I had this one, met with you this week, I come back and now it's Rick. Wait, what happened to Ryan? Oh, he's no longer here. And then a week later I go, and now it's Mark, because Rick's gone. They burn through people so fast, it's hard for us to develop those relationships. They're not here long enough.
I think that's industry standard though, probably.
It is.
Yeah, I would say this is a great topic to put here, because every community is dealing with it. I will tell you that you're on the right path of getting a comprehensive group to constantly manage it, because the turnover is great. But the bottom line is you have already started with community paramedic and single roles. That you talk about change in the business, the idea of single roles 5 years ago, no way. So your organization's already taking some steps. Single role huge, community paramedic huge, and then do it from there. But we're talking about an age-old problem that is, and it comes back to demand for service. Our service model has changed, and the demand for it is not what's supported.
Sorry, Ryan, I had a question for you about, so you have some experiences, I know coming from Redmond, is single role EMS delivery models starting to become a very well standard with good success throughout the
Yes.
state?
Absolutely.
Is that like in writing on a billboard somewhere? I can use
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It is, but it's a culture change. Yeah, it is. I would say it won't be long before, if you don't have it, you're the anomaly. Because you can't sustain a firefighter, paramedic level of staffing for a model that is the other end of the spectrum. So absolutely. I will just say one thing that, and you guys already talked about it, be inclusive with your single roles. They are part of your team. They're not in different uniforms, living in a different station, having different conditions. They eat at the same dinner table. They check rigs the same way. They come to your union, you know, all those things, whether they're labor or not, I don't know, but it doesn't matter. They're inclusive. It's a great model. And there's a lot of people that want to be, I wrote right here, recruiting. We're gonna have trouble in the future. You talk about a future threat, this isn't a job everybody wants anymore. It's not the same job everybody wanted. So, but there are some great people out there that would love to be EMS providers, but not firefighters, and not work for a private ambulance.
Most of our EMS providers have zero interest in never touching the
Yeah, they don't want to.
that we currently have.
So, but they're not a threat. Sometimes the firefighters see them as a threat. They don't want your job, but they want to be EMS providers. So have fun with that. It's a cool opportunity and a threat.
So it's educational, thank you.
Where do we get, our single roles? Like, who trains them?
We train them, generally, they're what we're looking for is probably one out of Multnomah County, because we share protocols with the Tri-County area. And so those paramedics already know what they're doing when we get here. We do have a field training program they have to go through, and if they're a competent medic, it's over in about 30 days. And then they can be in the world, we can release them to the wild, they can start running calls. Again, the positive for us is we're nonprofit versus for-profit, right? For-profit is the drive is take the hospital, take them out, take them to the hospital. We're here, my push and talking with Dustin is we need to be patient advocates, right? They need to go to the hospital. Let's instead of talking them out, let's talk them into going to the hospital. And we have that model. AMR, there was an article just the other day, AMR hired 32 paramedics in the same month they lost 45. So and you're right, no one wants to do this job anymore. And unfortunately, everything that's on TV makes fire department EMS look like it's glorious. Like every day there's an ocean liner flipping over or an earthquake or a tsunami, and we can do all this cool stuff, but it's pretty monotonous stuff that we do probably 98% of the time.
I cannot tell you how many times. Go ahead.
Somebody comes, like, say, somebody gets out of high school or whatever, or, you know, moves here and they decide, I want to make a career change and I just want to be a single role paramedic. Is there an opportunity like the firefighters, you know, to come in and go through the academy? Or is that not?
They more have to, we can chat a lot more about it later too, but there's a schooling and all kinds of junk they gotta go through and get a paramedic.
Here's one thing I'd say on the single role, and I think I know where you're coming from, that's organizationally. For every 2 people on an ambulance, a single role is 2 firefighters you gain, because they're not on a call for that non-emergent
Write that
call.
down. Write that down. You already got that one down. So
Okay.
we have a presentation that we're going to be showing the board over the next week, and then we're going to take it out to our staff, our career firefighters, our volunteers. It's that directional change. As Dustin said earlier, we keep doing, you know, the definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And so we think we've come up with a logical solution to move the district back into a different model. And like you said, if I have people going to the hospital in an ambulance and I keep firefighters in town, means they're there for the all hazard stuff. And so that we believe we have a workable model that would be financially achievable for the organization.
Can I give you one bit of wisdom from failure on my part?
Yeah.
Is don't belittle don't belittle their benefit package or anything else. Make it fit, but they're different positions.
The beautiful part about what we have is our single roles are all represented under the same union, and they are members of the International Association of Firefighters. They get the same sticker, same everything, same representation, same contract, same benefit package as the firefighters. Vacation a little different because they work different hours, but they get the same
different
healthcare plan.
And I just messed up the first time we did that. I say I'll take all is that we tried to do it without the money, so we brought them in and it worked. It got way better, but that was a a hill to get over.
I appreciate that.
It is,
I can say, when we were having some financial difficulties here a little while ago and doing our budget stuff and talking about not filling some positions, I talked to some union members and they were really worried that the single roles are gonna be the ones cut to hire firefighters back.
Oh.
They were really worried about that. They wanted to keep the single roles. And I think the administration did a great job of keeping the single roles. And we even made sure in that contract that they got their, before we did the budget stuff, we made sure they got their contract as they were written or told it was gonna be. Remember back when we gave them their bonus or whatever up front before the union, the rest of the firefighters got it. I mean, we really treated them well and they are really liked here, I guess.
Very valuable program that part of this opportunities. I think a big one of the opportunities is we have a unique opportunity based on attrition right now to change that outdated model that's over in the other column to more of a single role centric EMS delivery program like the rest of it sounds like the world is doing.
if you look into the future, our fire calls have fallen like a rock over the last decade, last 2 decades. They're gonna continue to fall. We're gonna have fewer and fewer just because of technology and how we fight fire. Pardon?
Yeah, the way they build
How we
houses
build.
now, the materials we use.
All of that, and with cameras and everything else, things are gonna be significantly different. How long, with that, some of the materials we're using today are much more explosive. 80%, 90% of a building today is either plastics or petroleum products. So the fire we fight today is a lot different, but you're gonna see robotics. And that's a scary thing when we think about it. You're gonna have an engine company arrive in a van with 3 robots and a 12-year-old who will be part of union, I promise.
I don't think he can be in the union because he's under 18 and the Oregon child labor laws say we can't.
You're gonna have an individual running 2 or 3 robots that are taking in fire grenades or whatever the case may be, doing primary entry. That's not far away. That's coming at us. And what's going to continue to grow is the percentage of our EMS calls. So single role, the whole world has changed. 10 years ago, people fought to pick up overtime, extra shifts. And today, the mindset is, I don't think so. I'm going to go ski in today. It's a different mindset. And we just have to embrace that. It is what it is and figure ways to make it work. I'm gonna, those are up. Here's what I'm gonna ask you to do, and then we're gonna take a quick break. I want to apologize. When I shopped for this, I went to the business office depot store. Usually they have adult stickers like blue, red, green, They only had a kids section, so please forgive me, but if you would take 3 gold stars, and we would take 3 gold stars, and I want you to look at our strengths and weaknesses, threats and opportunities, and if you were gonna coin a goal that's most important that we either continue or we get to, I want you to put 1 gold star with your 3 highest priorities in strengths, weaknesses, threats, and opportunities. So grab your stars and put up 3 stars.
We need a bigger.
Can I put 3 stars on one? Or?
Nope, you can't. Not on this
We
one.
need bigger stars.
Do we need bigger stars? I think.
You can't stuff the ballot box.
Okay.
Only 3 dozen.
One star.
We need more smiley faces.
I can cut more out for you if you want. We have scissors and we run with them.
You're bad. Yeah, 1 star on each of your 3.
Threats and opportunities and strengths and weaknesses.
Wait, just to clarify, Jeff,
One
can they put 3 for each weakness, strength, and or is it only 3?
Only 3 stars
All right.
For all 4.
For all.
for all 4. Your 3 most important issues moving forward.
That's all right. That's all right. Should never have a floor. It's gonna be a good week this week. A lot of times. That one just, no. It's not a test on it. Sorry, Austin. Screw it.
I'm gonna do that.
Like for when, as soon as you guys are trying something else, you shut the Jeopardy thing, so everybody up here, it's like, they gotta beat the clock.
Yeah.
Did I hear we're
All right,
taking a break?
take a quick break, bathroom, grab a muffin, coffee, there's chocolate bars.
Pizza will be here in
We're back.
Okay, in keeping with our adult theme, I want you to grab the small smiley faces. And I want you to reprioritize, but you only get to use 2. So of everything up there, only use 2 smiley faces, the 2 most important items that you see up there for the future. It makes it tough.
You're dropping it from 3 to 2.
Jesus. Watch it. Yeah, watch the movie forward.
Yeah, all right. We're all good. It's all good.
And then I will need to do a CA. So
Did you, the wiki one, you do the face? The wiki face. The wiki face, get it, oh, I like wiki face. All I can say is for your future ones, Jeff, I'd get bigger stars.
Yep. Well, and probably more,
The stars, I think we're fine. No one, nothing, guys.
nobody's complaining
No
about
one's complaining about the
just
stars.
bigger stars.
So you know, yeah, because they're pretty small.
Okay. Okay, now this is the hardest one, and this is the last time you gotta stand up for a few minutes. Big smiley faces.
Yeah.
1, your most important driving thing for the fire service for the future. Put 1 big smiley face where you're at.
Not biased or anything.
No.
Now we know.
I quit eating. Any of it.
Any of them.
I quit completely. I'll confess to anything.
It's gonna be spectacular.
Where do you think?
Oh, it was ridiculous
Oh, what you guys do?
with peanut and them.
I agree with everything that's on here. So I just want you to, this is about, for you guys moving forward. It also gives me a perspective what your guys' beliefs are. So that's why they're putting this together. I know, I mean, I have my own ideas, but clearly I want to see what the board, what you want, or where you think you're headed. So that's why I didn't want to put anything up there.
Okay, now I'm gonna shift gears, and I'm gonna need your help with the district. I want to shift from our threats, our strengths and weaknesses, threats and opportunities, to our goals. So I want you to take all of this stuff and think about the org chart of the department and where we put these things. So I'm gonna try, how many departments do we have? We have CFO, financial. We have
EMS,
ops.
of operations and training
And EMS and training.
and prevention. And I do that one too. So
Okay, and I'm gonna suggest a 5th one, which is the leader, the CEO, and that community board connections. So that would be 6 goals, and that's manageable because 1 person will have each goal. And we're gonna try to put these under those as best we can, no more than 3 objectives to be done over the course of the year. And what we're gonna do, and you'll know this, when we're done with this, all we gotta do today is get the major goals, the major objectives under each goal, and then we're gonna build out the baby steps that you'll see getting to finish. So let's start with our first goal, which clearly is gonna be an operational piece. Who's our chief officer in charge of ops?
Chief Gorsuch,
Also over EMS or just
training,
training?
he does too.
So he's gonna get, that person's gonna get 2. So the person in charge of goal 1 is gonna be Chief
Gorsuch,
Gorsuch. Can you spell Gorsuch?
Sure cannot.
GORSUCH,
I'm sorry, what?
He was a
GOR.
recipient of our safety award.
SUCH.
Gorsuch.
He wears it around his neck too, that safety.
Does he really?
Yes. It's underneath his jacket, you can't see it too.
Tell him if it's a problem, we're gonna take it back.
Oh, no, he loves it.
So Chief Gorsuch is gonna be in charge of this first goal, and let's coin an operation term that's gonna be good for many, many years to come. So what would we call goal number 1 as far as operations?
It's right there, bottom left,
Yep, recruiting.
recruiting.
That's gonna be one of our objectives. Let's put a name
above
on
that.
on this goal that is gonna be ops forever.
So with that, Jeff, and I just wanted to, so when we're talking about recruiting, we're, and you guys asked, we're gonna talk about it in the board meeting. We're actively we're doing recruiting. What I'd like to do, and I've talked about this with Dustin in 3215, is that we get some people that have some fire port at our line level that will help us and manage that. Because it's a chiefs will send out, we'll send out flyers, we'll send out all sorts of stuff. but having somebody contact, making those contacts, talking about the organization, how do I apply? We want to decentralize it from the chiefs. And we want to focus it more back on the folks that are going to be the butts in the seats. And so we've been talking about this for 2 weeks now about them taking over recruiting. We give them, obviously there'll be stuff I'd have to approve, right? Or whatever they write up, they can't say that everybody gets a new aluminum weld, salmon boat, but whatever it is that it gets approved, but they're going to be the ones that field the phone calls, and help us determine who is the best fit for our organization. So that's something, and again, only because chiefs, with all the things we have going, it's like one thing, right? We just send out a flyer, we put it on NTN, but actually having a voice there on the phone or somebody come in and say, hey, I want to come and talk. Hey, Dustin's on tomorrow. Why don't you come in and talk to Dustin?
Okay, saving lives, protecting people. So let's label this first goal, this ops goal, consistent with our mission statement, serving, what was it? Saving lives and serving people.
Property.
So our first goal is going to be, and we'll word this properly as a goal, but essentially saving lives and serving people.
Yep.
Let's do goal number 2. We're going to have, now, EMS is separate than that, right?
Correct. Yes.
Same person running it?
No, Chief Cole.
Okay, so let's coin a long-term goal for EMS. And Chief Cole?
Chief Cole, C-O-L-E. And Jeff, back to that same point is having 2 different chiefs, one, trying to recruit either a firefighters and everyone trying to recruit EMS. It just makes more sense to have some line staff assist or take the lead on that to get these, because again, they could work counterproductive to each other because one's trying to draw a certain individual versus another. And so by focusing and send it back to a sole point of contact or several small points or sole points of contact on the line level I think would improve us. And we've talked about this for several weeks now.
Are you, when you say that, do you mean like have committees?
So I think to expand on this real quick, since I'll make it short. Part of that trust and communication piece, I think, and Chief Smythe and I've talked about this, is getting our line level involved in what traditionally has been an administrative decision that you see a memo about and you're like, who did we just hire? We're starting academy. I have no idea. So fixing that to where we find volunteers from our line level that say, I had a guy approach me the other day, said, I would love to go to my old paramedic schools and pass out flyers and try to recruit good people. I would love to field phone calls for people that want to work here. I would love to help write the job. I would love to do the graphics for the job announcements. And another guy raising his hand going, I'd love to help write the NTN announcements so so we can and push it through all these people. Guys on the line really wanted to step up and looking for more to do rather than just shag a call, come back, shag a call. They want to be involved in the growth of the district. So
that's happening right now.
What's that? No,
That's what
we're talking about.
That's what we're talking about, because we have info@crfr.com, right? It's a generic email,
Right.
and it doesn't matter who's here, somebody can answer. Well, my thought was, talking to Dustin, was maybe it's hiring@crfr.com, and those 2 or 3 volunteers,
Yeah.
when they come on duty, they get the email, they can answer the email, they can make that phone call, and because these are the guys doing the job, and so they get to help decide who's the one riding next to them. And, and if they pick somebody that's less than what we want, well, that's their job to vet that individual, make sure. So we want good quality people working here, and you must work with the people that are the ones that have to work with them. I don't have to work with them. They work for me, but they have to work with him. And so having these guys do that, we just think it's a good opportunity.
Really important that I don't mislead you at this juncture. This is your strategic plan. Normally what we see is the chief will have a goal that is interfacing with the board, the firefighters, and the community. So it is absolutely the most difficult position to be in. It is the perfect storm being pulled between all 3. So that's going to be a full-time job. We've got to push the other pieces out to our head officers, whether they're BCs, ACs, DCs, whatever you call them, the next level down, that report up to the chief, and then they'll pick their teams. But what we need to be able to say is Gorsuch. Gorsuch. I know him. I apologize.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably hurt his feelings if he gets to watch it.
Hey, listen, it was not enough caffeine. It was my fault. I apologize. Okay. The chief and the board need to say, hey, you got this objective and it's recruiting or whatever the case may be. And you're behind on your steps to get us where we need to go. Do you need more resources?
So essentially, what you're saying is for recruitment, even though like down below Gorsuch, he would kind of be in charge of setting up the emails or whatever, implementing this plan that they're talking about.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, so we're just identifying who's ultimately responsible.
Ultimately
And then
responsible.
after that, how they set that up is on them.
And that person is gonna make these things work. It's specific, whatever the goal is, it's measurable, it's achievable, it's relevant, and it's time bound. So what'll happen is we'll define, and I'm making this up, we're not there yet, so I don't want to steer you astray, but let's say recruiting, and we'll define what that 18-month, 3-year period of time looks like. And then together, the staff and I and my staff will report back to you. These are the 21 steps we've identified to be where we want to be definable in 18 months.
Okay.
And it's going to be just like building a house. They got to do step 1 first, step 2, step 3. So we got to scurry the ground and bring in gravel before we put the foundation on. And then we've got to, bring in electrical and plumbing, stub all that in. So they're going to know exactly what it is. So in August, going to report back and say, we have met item number 4 in our plan. Or we're going to go, holy cow, we didn't realize we missed a step.
So
Or
just for clarification for everybody, so the expectation here is, so the goals, the recruitment, right? Recruiting, that will go under Gorsuch.
most likely, yes, that's what you're going to
Gorsuch
pick.
will then meet up with Chief Smythe and write, okay, we'll come up with these ideas, and then that'll be his kind of like little baby brainchild thing.
Yep.
That he will nurture through help, right, and support from the line staff and the union.
And you will see all of this. And your job as an official, as we talked about, set organizational direction, right? Care, loyalty, obedience. You'll get that. And a big part of your board meeting is going to be going, okay, where are we at with goal 1? Where are we at with recruiting? Hey, we nailed step 3. Let's go to step 4. And that report's going to be out in July. So that we have a map we're running on. And, I said earlier, if we hit 70, 80%, like this is home run material, you're going to run into obstacles that are outside of our control or the world has changed. But if we define them and we're doing our best to get there, home run.
Okay.
So this is going to be ops. We're going to have a second. Goal number 2 is EMS. And Cole's in charge of that. And Cole's responsibility to you is everything EMS?
Yes.
Hiring, promoting, training, calls.
He works with Chief Gorsuch for training in regards to whatever regard EMS, like the, CPR or ACLS, any one of those. So he works with training because ultimately it falls under training, but it is responsibility to ensure that all of our staff have the adequate knowledge, experience, and education to continue to do their job.
Since Gorsuch is here, let's put in a number 3, which would be training.
Tell me real quick, your org structure faced the fire chief, then deputy division,
3 division chiefs.
3 division chiefs. Are they on shift or off?
So we work 40 hours, but we're also covering shifts.
Yeah, I get it. You have duty officer role.
Yeah, we have
but
duty officer roles, yes.
They're so 24/7, but they show up at 8, leave at 5, and never quit. Okay.
Let's put a number 4 goal here. We've got to address finance. And I would assume that's Jimmy?
Chief Sanchez, yes.
Chief Sanchez, forgive me, that was disrespectful. Chief Sanchez. Thanks for laughing. I'm wearing tennis shoes, so I'm casual today. Chief Sanchez, financial. And obviously that's going to loop in all of these. Yes, we have money to do this. No, we don't. But that's going to be your purview. You're going to have an eye on that. So that'll be 4. And you said there's 5 officers?
No,
Including him.
5 days, including me, there's 4.
Okay, so we hit all 4? Is that correct?
Well, other than fire marshal prevention duties would be the only other one that would.
Okay, we'll put them under these. And so you're gonna have a goal 5 that we're gonna have to flip back to. Can you do that? Are you ambidextrous?
I think so.
Okay, number 5 is gonna be CEO Chief Smythe. So we're gonna coin out each of these goals so they're lifelong. So financial, Chief,
Pizza, come on in.
Sanchez.
oh, right, Chief Sanchez.
Right on the table, brother. Thank you.
So more than likely that financial goal is gonna read something like you've seen already on the board, that we're financially sound and we're planning for the future. We have, plans on how we're going to get to where we need to go. So we're gonna wordsmith those 5 goals. Now it's hard work time before we get pizza. And the great thing about pizza delivery now is you're gonna work faster. We're gonna go through these lists, and the first things we're gonna address are the ones that have the stars, the smiley faces, because they're without question the most important. So let's talk recruiting. Where do we put recruiting?
That's almost, I'd say it kind of falls under the head chief, CEO. And I think we're trying to make it district wide at the same time though.
I do believe so.
I think from my perception of it, based on the plates of the other division chiefs wearing multiple hats, I think recruiting with the CEO kind of has a direct path to the line through 3215. I think, I don't mean to throw Chief Smythe under the bus, that at this juncture, maybe recruiting is best handled by the CEO until we have some other stuff buttoned up.
Okay,
my opinion.
Chief Smythe, you agree?
Yes.
Okay, so for right now, until we're done, our number 1 objective under Chief Smythe is gonna be recruiting.
That was for him, and then if you guys, Jeff wanted that.
I would include recruiting and retention all in one.
I agree with that.
I think that's important, is it's not just recruiting, it's keeping what we have, so. Whenever I've heard of a recruiting job, it's not just recruiting, it's recruiting and retention, especially in the smaller agencies.
100% agree.
Okay, so I'm gonna mark that one off without
So-
knocking down the owl.
And I understand, I believe that falls, what I've been talking about with 3215 and the things that we briefly talked about the board and getting noticed and the rest of the staff is that Chief's doing the broad strokes. I know, at least I believe where I think we need to be going with personnel and the number of personnel we have. And I have to talk to finance, where do we get there? I've talked to units like this is here, and it's, again, it's not my idea, right? It's not, I'm not the smartest guy. I'm not gonna play that game. It's not that. It's a collective effort to find a goal. But the chief sets here's where we need to get, or at least to broad stroke it, and then we fine tune it. So 100% agree.
Objective number 2 will fall under number 2 if you like this cold, and that is single role. Does that make sense? Underfunded.
Finance.
Finance?
Yes.
He's gonna love us.
But also,
Can he print money?
can we print money? No, you go to jail for that. The FBI shows up.
Did you want that under, Jeff?
Yeah.
You wanted that as objective?
Department of Treasury,
Finance? Funding?
Yeah, what we're gonna do, we're right now just put a holding place for an objective on funding.
Got it.
Adequate funding.
Not underfunding, not underfunding.
Not underfunding?
Okay, trust.
CEO.
I agree. CEO. Staffing.
I think that's under recruitment and retention.
What's Gorsuch doing?
Operations.
Sounds like Borchers is doing staffing and recruiting. Who's your best person for that? Where does that, because it can land either place. Where do
Of
you?
course, it's handling training plus volunteers plus certifications.
He's already task saturated.
Yeah.
That's why,
He's
that's why,
not here, so-
when Ryan's point, Ryan talked about that he might be overseeing it, but
Yes.
we're asking, so again, just because it has a name next to it, doesn't mean that individual has to do it all by themselves.
That's right.
This is, they're the focal point for the information, the
Yep.
choke point for, information up or information down. And so, yeah, he will, but we're going to disseminate that
Sure.
out and bring some people on that want to do it and be excited about it, because that's who needs to be there.
But he's the coach for recruiting.
He's the coach.
Okay.
And then we need a special teams. That's what we need, a special team,
Yeah.
Special games.
That.
defense.
Right here. So this is
All
recruiting.
right. Let's, talk
Staff.
communication.
Even though we have recruiting and retention here, recruiting and staffing.
Where should we put that as an objective?
Or CEO.
That recruiting comes from Smith.
Yeah, I agree.
They
I think
did.
we're getting convoluted here.
Yeah, what do we got?
So
We have an
recruiting and
internal
retention, do you want it under CEO or do we want it under
You
Gorsuch?
put it under objective one,
We put it under
recruiting, retention under Smythe.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, also, if the chief Gorsuch is.
So do we just say support recruiting and retention? That way you're lead
This
on
is your
it.
plan. Where do you want it? How do you
I
want
think
it
it needs to go
managed?
to, I think it needs to go to Gorsuch. I think otherwise you're gonna stack everything on Chief Smythe's shoulders and, right, delegation of responsibility, right? He can check in and say, hey, chief, how are you doing? Like, he's gonna do the same thing with everybody, right? Hey, how's this going, right?
So my 2 cents to chain of command to make it work
Yeah.
is you put it under Gorsuch because then the fire chief doesn't recruit and retrain, but he gets the final say so once it
Yes.
comes in as the chief's interview. So.
Congratulations.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
yeah, and just so
Does
you
that
have
work?
an idea of where we're gonna end with this, as we're
No?
eating pizza.
No, it does. No, again.
It's your plan. If you want us to.
No, no,
pause,
100%.
pause. Okay.
So we talked about inclusion, right? So one of the things that we've been discussing is that when it comes to the final interview, chief's interview, is that it'd be myself and the union president.
Yep.
And that's who we conduct, because again, these guys have to work with them.
Yep.
And it shouldn't be just me sitting at, or, 4, 5, 6 candidates, right? I want the union president there that him and I, or him and, he or she, whoever it is there, and we can collaborate on who's the best fit for the organization.
You invite anybody you want to your
I'm
panel.
inviting him, so.
So you invite him, and then Gorsuch, he runs the idiosyncrasies of NTN, of
Setting up
the
committee.
website, but he probably not gonna, done right, Gorsuch wouldn't do it. He's gonna have,
Correct.
delegate that
That's what we
out.
want to do, yes.
But in the end, you are the one that brings in your
Yes, sir.
panel for the final
Yes.
decision.
If we're gonna get smart right, we're not gonna have any more than 3 objectives under one person. You just can't do it. And with those objectives, you need to be able to turn as a board, as a chief, to an individual and say, I need you to step it up on recruitment. We either need to outsource it, hire it out, but we got a problem. But we need to be able to identify that problem early on, at month 2, month 6, not 3 years later when we have nobody here. So the idea is, nobody has too much on their plate, but what they do have is very well defined, and we can correct things. This is gonna be a lot like flying a plane to Hawaii. And if you talk to a pilot or if you study it, they're on course less than 10% of the time. They're a degree or 2 off, but they're going in the right direction. And our job, your job, thanks for saying that, we're not gonna land in water.
Yeah, I don't want to land in water.
Our job is to constantly course correct. So, hey, we tried this, it didn't work. Let's try this, let's try this. But what we gotta do is make sure in 3 years, we land the recruiting thing on the dime at the airport, not in Switzerland. That was
I'm
a
trying to get
joke.
Hawaii.
My
Trying to
camera's
get
not that
Hawaii.
good.
If I end up in Switzerland, we've done something wrong.
Well, and at the end of the day too, we can, at every board meeting going forward, like even this, this next one, we can have a report on how our workshop went, right? With
Yep.
these, and then every month, where are we at with recruitment? Where are we at finance? Which we already kind of do, but it'll also structure the board, right? To where we
Yep.
get,
Absolutely.
right?
know
So
what
we're more
questions to
structured,
ask.
right?
So your board meeting in the future,
Mhm.
it's gonna be fairly similar. You're gonna get correspondence, you'll have an agenda, you'll have a financial report, and then you'll probably have each of the divisions report where they're at. And then you're gonna go right into strategic plan. Where are we at? Hey, this board meeting, these 3 things were supposed to be done. Where you at with this item or that item? But that allows us to make short-term corrections, not freak out 2 years down the road, when none of our engines run because they're too old, if that makes sense. So what I want to do at this juncture, there's a couple that have stars. I'm going to hit park for just a second. And I want to coin no more than 3 objectives, obtainable objectives in a 3-year period of time under each of the major goals. So let's start, if we can, with goal 5, the chief. So we're going to look at no more than 3 major objectives. And I will tell you, in my opinion, from trying to put the different things on here with communication, unity with board, all of that, one of the chief's biggest jobs is not in operation squirting water and chopping holes. Although you go on calls and you do take command, one of his biggest goals needs to be creating a relationship with you and the community that has unity. So one of the things he's got to learn, one of the things that we need to tell him is, what do you expect? Now, I hinted earlier that we had one board that went into a dark spot for a while. They were so dark that one board member required every word at a board meeting was recorded and put in the minutes. What they did was they took a key staff person, in that case, the general manager's personal assistant, and all month long, all that individual did was type out the minutes. So they got this book every month from the board meeting, and then they'd scream at her and go, you haven't done your job. It's like, well, wait, I can't do both. You want me to do one and the other. So developing that, what do you want? Well, everybody here is familiar with a Myers-Briggs, 16 different personalities. An architect, an engineer, a math major is going to want data. A salesperson, a field rep, they're going to want more touchy-feely. Can I say that? Okay. I don't know what's politically correct. Relationship, thank you.
Write that one down.
Okay, I'll get reprimanded on that for the way home. They're gonna want more but what we gotta do is find something, so when you get the report from the chief, you're going spot on.
I was thinking of something you said, and I'll tell you afterward. Yeah.
Okay, good, in private.
In private.
The owl's listening.
Yes, I don't know.
Now I'm in trouble twice. So, clearly one of the objectives has got to be this whole communication, board unity, working between labor and management. Keep in mind, they're at the top of the pyramid, and they're dealing with three folks: civilians, board, and employees. So what we've got to do, pardon me? Inclusion. So one of the chief's major goals has got to be to address that. And I don't know yet what that objective will look like. But that's got to be a communication, board unity, and that's going to erase about one item on each of the threats, opportunities.
I wrote something.
Please.
Increase member and community trust and perceived value. In a way, like, I've started with member, and then but I want community to be involved there too. But I want our members everybody to feel better in terms of inclusion, like you said. Like, I want everybody to come here, want to work here, look forward to coming to work. I want our community to know, like, hey, we're doing everything we can to do the right thing every time.
Develop our culture. So you can kind of coin that, and we're going to make it in terms of something that's achievable, that has a list of things that show that we're getting there, if that makes sense. And that's going to be the hardest objective of anybody here, but I think we're going to eliminate one or two items across the boards with that particular one. What were the other things you put under for the chief besides?
Well, this was all taken off.
So
now
that's
this is
trust. Okay, so let's leave that, and we're gonna take that, and trust and culture is gonna be built into that. Let's go back up to number 1. Recruitment, retention. Let's coin objective number 1, talking about recruitment and retention. We're gonna have to put some kind of data points behind it, but it's gotta be, it's got to encompass improving our retention and improving our recruitment numbers, and it's gonna have to have some systems to it. But that would be a great first objective, is our people, getting them here, keeping them here. So we'll define that out so that it's smart, if you will. What would be a second objective? Since he's doing training, if he doesn't get a second objective there, he will under training. Can you think of anything up here that should go up there that fits for him?
He's also doing volunteer recruitment with that, just stay under that same objective.
Yeah.
He manages all the volunteers.
I mean, yeah.
About single roles, do single role, they're gonna live in.
They're over at chief.
Yeah.
Is it the training?
So yeah, I'd say the highly skilled, he's training, so I would say.
No, I'm open to change.
Leadership as well, in terms of
Open to change.
creating the future.
Well, I mean, I've been in the job a long enough time, and I've worked with plenty of chiefs, and most of the chiefs it's my way or the highway, and they I know more than everybody else in the room. And I don't believe I'm that way. I'm open to change. I'm hoping to find what's the best way to serve our community, and make sure our members have everything they need to be able to take care of that problem. So, not being closed-minded and, you know, so I don't have to have the best idea. Somebody else can clearly do it. Go with their idea.
Well, I think that at the end of the day too, what the overall message that I'm hearing is, right, we have an outdated service model, which is why I put a little gold star up there. So we're already changing, right? We're doing things, in my opinion, and Mark might be able to speak to this, but I think that we're taking with the new administration that we have in place now, you know, both the chief and the board president, we're already, and us board members, we're already kind of looking at things through a different avenue, right? So we are open-minded, we are open to change. We are trying to be inclusive, communication. There's so many things on there that
The word that comes to mind for me is cooperation.
Yeah. So we can coin that into one of his objectives with enhancing the service model.
So that would be Chief Smythe, enhancing the service model. That would be one of his overall goals. Smythe.
Okay, so is that where you want that?
I personally.
I think that's a top, yeah, that's a CEO level.
Okay, so that's gonna be,
Because that's 3,000 foot level.
Well, I'm sure agree. If that's the direction we're going, or that's the direction that point is, then it'll be Chief Porsche's job to meet that, to get us up to it. And clearly, again, I want all the staff to have open to change. It isn't my way or the highway. I can't tell you how many meetings I've had where, well, it's my idea, or this is, you know, they want the recognition. I could give a one rat's turd who gets recognized. It's about, is this what best for our district and our community and our members?
and that was my bad because I put the two together. I think open to change goes to you, and I think updating service model would go Gorsuch.
Yeah.
Okay, so his second objective will be updating the service model, and the chief's second objective is going to be open to change, and that's going to be leadership culture development. Okay, so EMS number 2 has how many objectives?
So far, we've got a single role is their objective. So creating, maintaining, solidifying single role program.
Got I mean, it kind of falls into training, but EMS, it's always evolving. There's always, so I put constantly updated science-based best practices for EMS.
So
that's
that's
a
open to
mouthful,
change.
but it's staying.
State of the art, best
staying up to
practice.
date with what's going on.
But that's where Dustin's coming from, I think, with single roles. You're trying to get,
Yeah.
you're trying to stay ahead. Okay.
And constant, I think, training rather like, department-based trainings and maybe not as much computer-based EMS training as setting up training schedules for those guys in terms of, hey, we're gonna come and do mock codes as a crew and stuff like that. But
Well, and you know, Austin, the problem is it's a checkbox, right? You do a class online, every one of us just wants to get through to get to the test and be done. And I know how to do this, and we just wanted to make sure we get a 70 or above or whatever the passing for is. So actually having hands-on based training, whether EMS or fire, is definitely gonna fill the bill for our membership, whether volunteer or career.
Is our, it's a question, I'm not sure the answer, is our EMS training solely under the EMS, or does the training division kind of dabble in it and with, is it separation of church and state in that manner where one guy does one guy does the other?
So when, in the IGA, they kept it separate. When the IGA broke, we went back to, it should fall under training. EMS can say, hey, this year's ACLS, and then training will then make sure, schedule it and put it on the schedule. It definitely falls under training. Because what happens is that was having conflicting, you want to go out and do fire training, but I'm the
What's ACLS?
advanced cardiac life support. It's the paramedic components of it.
Yeah, so you guys get it, because this is when you do everything.
My bad, Ryan. So, but that EMS-based training, and we were getting, during the IGA, we're getting some of those overlapping. The EMS chief go, today is advanced cardiac life support, and the fire trainer went, no, we're pulling hose today. And then our guys were like, well, which one do we go do? And clearly, to maintain 80% of our calls, the ACLS would be more important then, but we don't want to mitigate or not mitigate. We don't want to eliminate the hose training either. So that's why it fell to training. He can tell them, hey, we need to make sure our guys are doing this, and then training with schedule.
We're gonna hit break. We're gonna grab pizza. We're gonna wrap this up. What you're gonna get next from us, and it'll take at least a month for us to put it together. What I'm gonna try to do is find a logical place for most of this. What we don't put up there, we're gonna identify and say, this is nowhere on here. And you're gonna have to figure out, not important, or hey, it's a daily task of somebody. What we're gonna end up with is 5 goals, 1 or 2 objectives, and then steps to get there. And staff, I would hope by 2 months down the road, we'll have built out those steps. So we're gonna be smart. We're gonna have very specific, very measurable items that are achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So it's gonna be just like building a house. And then the thing I would always suggest is, you know, we may be halfway to Hawaii, but if Hawaii sinks, we may need to go to Samoa. So, you know, we may, right? Thank you for laughing. All right, grab pizza,
Hey,
please.
before you guys go,
unity, bringing all of us together, have an open-mindedness. I want to suggest to you that things that go wrong fall into one of two categories: errors, and we're all human. When I was in school, if I got a 95, I did my happy dance, and I probably had a little bit of Irish whiskey afterwards going yahoo, because I knew I was A, material, and I knew I was at the top of the class. But every one of your people's making 300-400 critical decisions a day. And if you're at a 95, you're making 20 errors a day. And one of them's going to catch you sooner or later. It's just that near-miss pyramid. And I'm going to flip chart that so you know where I'm trying to go with this. Thank you. We're all human. And here's what we know for sure. For every one ugly event that ends up in a lawsuit, ends up in a fatality, we get 59 minors. We get 600 close calls. We have thousands of events because of how we act. We are an industry that lives in competing values of speed and accuracy. And we'll compromise accuracy all day long for speed. We know that fire is going to double every 45 seconds. We know we got an hour to get our patients to the hospital to save them. So our culture becomes a culture of taking shortcuts. Is that a bad thing? Yes and no. It saves lives and it puts us at risk. But here's the bottom line, how we think. My goal with this strategic plan, working with you, is to cut this baseline, change our culture, cut this baseline in half, and eliminate the bad stuff. When I look at departments that are doing it right, and you all know some of them that do, it's all about attitude. You know it when you meet the firefighter, you know it when you meet the chief, you know it when you meet the board chair, you know what the news media is talking about us. It's all about attitude. We're humble public servants. Errors I accept all day long. Welcome them. People make mistakes, and what we do is we learn from errors. And this is the hardest thing in our society today. What's the very first thing the news media looks for when something goes wrong? They want the name. Who was it that was messed up that put the screws on the door on the Boeing that blew off the other day, right? I want to know the name. Like, that's going to change things. It was the system.
Well, they take it to personal accountability.
Yeah. And is that, no, that's not a good thing. Errors we learn from and we correct, and we're going to learn from our strategic plan, but we're going to change our culture. Here's what's not acceptable here. Willful, wanton misconduct, right? Willful, wanton misconduct is when somebody knows the rules, knows where we're going, and intentionally tries to sabotage us. Now, in my perfect world, that person's out of here right now because they are the bad apple in the bunch. They are ruining our attitude. They are a poison in a crew. Now, you see it. All of you have seen it with shifts. For some reason, shift A is tightly wrapped, really doing everything right, and shift B, anybody on shift B here? Okay, thanks. Just checking. I didn't want to get any black marks on my review. Shift B is like, who is it that leaves the kitchen clean, and who is it that eats everybody else's pizza? It's a different mentality. And the number one thing we can do to get to where we need to be, and to, you're smiling because you know exactly what I'm talking about. You ever come home and the kid ate your left, right? Mm-hmm. So the number one thing we can do to get to where we need to do and get to in the next 2 to 3 years is culture. And you said it over and over again: communication, unity. Communication's up there 3 or 4 times. Trust, and it's all about culture. If we do one thing here, continue doing what you're doing right now, and you've done a phenomenal job in the last several months bringing people, because it's a road. It's a tough road. I want to thank you for being here. Grab pizza. I want to make this open for you to do a couple of things. Evaluate what you saw today. Tell us what we need to get done that we missed today, and then watch for a report back, probably not this coming board meeting, but the next board meeting, on where we're going. What are your thoughts?
thought it was good training. It was helpful. I think a lot of like trying to have people that have seen this, like I said, we are newer to this, so having people that have worked with other districts and experience to help guide us and aim us in the right direction is helpful.
Good. I read your last strategic plan, and I'm not casting aspersions on it. What I didn't read, it did not come from all of you. It wasn't your direction. And I don't know how it was created, or too much about it. But this
Input on it, I'll tell you that much.
what this document should do is it should be our guiding light moving forward, getting to Hawaii. So the next strategic plan meeting will be in Hawaii.
Okay.
On the Big Island. I'm just kidding.
And this is
Dave,
a,
did you write that down?
how do we, yes, kind of what more we can do, how do we get the input of our membership on this plan going forward? Or is that something that generally happens in other districts? I don't know the answer to that.
So what needs to roll out in your training process in how we communicate with our firefighters, and I'll work with you to find out how we get it to them. But if it is at I'm assuming that you have a board meeting once a month.
We have union meetings
Okay.
relatively often.
So what I'd suggest we do is we do a pizza dinner. We come up and do that. And we roll out, first of all, our mission, vision, values. And then what we do is roll out the goals at a later time. This is where we're going. This is what the thought process is. We need them unified in building that culture.
I think part of that too, though, like inclusive, right? We ask, like, I've been to one of the board meetings. I thought it was good to see, kind of hear some of the, some of the stuff there, and, when I swung by, my best friend is one of the firefighters here. So, but I think that sometimes going to the board meetings, it wouldn't be a bad idea, if go in and hearing what they say, that way then I can form my own opinion of what I think needs to happen too. You know what I mean? Because I do listen to, obviously, I talk to you, and I obviously talk to Smythe. But I think that in order to truly punch this thing, really affirm it, I think that the board, to some extent, needs to go down there as well. But
If
there
you
has to
do
be
that,
open communication too.
if you do that, whether it's going to the labor or to an annual awards banquet, the protocol in Oregon, the way it's set up, is you do it in support of the chief. The chief would deliver it, but you're standing behind the chief saying, we're all unified doing the same thing. And the reason, I tell you that for two reasons. Number one is, if there's a misstep, I don't want any of you hanging out on your own.
Yeah, you said this is gonna happen,
And second of all, it does all those things. It creates unity, it creates trust. We validated this, we said this, and the chief is executing it. I want to read to you one of my favorite quotes. This is by President Theodore Roosevelt. He wrote once, no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And if we're going to, I apologize, I thought this was off. If we're going to execute this and change culture, number one, our firefighters need to know they're first. They're our asset. Number two is our community needs to know that we care. And then number three, all of this team needs to know that our heart's in the right spot. We can argue all day long about the color of apparatus. Just so you know, leaving here, it should be red. That was fire humor.
100% agree.
I'll explain it later. Some of you may like yellow, white, or red and black, which actually is my favorite. But the point is that we've got to be open to discuss, but when it's done, it's over, we move on. And we move to the next issue. Your work is way too important. In a couple of hours a month, in my opinion, you're running the most important service in this community, fire and life safety. I like water, I like sanitation, I like power. They're second to what you do. Fire and life safety is number one. So our people have got to be number one. We got to give them a career track. We got to get them home safe at night. We got to get them so safe at retirement. And our community knows we're here to serve you. And what the chief said earlier is absolutely correct. Every call that they make, is their worst day in their life. And it's just, not just, it is another tragedy that a firefighter is seeing over and over again. I'm gonna pass on a couple of stories. The first is, I do an awful lot of work in the Seattle area. And I was scheduled to be in Bainbridge, a very wealthy community, at a safety meeting. And I pulled in, they have a brand new station, they have great stuff there. Pulled in and all the lights in the building are off. This is a paid department. So I parked my car and I thought, my first thought was, are they out on some calls? What's going on? Door was open, I walked in. Nobody was at the reception desk. I walked back to the safety officer's desk, who's a lifelong friend. He's in his office staring at the wall, lights are off. And I walked in and said, my 19-year-old son taught me this, ZUP. Not quite sure what it means, but I think I know. Emotionally, he tells me we had a bad one last night. We had a car with 3 teenage kids, driver 17, 2 14-year-old kids, all on the same soccer team. Driving home, and Bainbridge is on the coast, it's on the water, and they were driving along one of the roads that has a very sheer drop off, about a 20-foot drop off down to rock. Lost control of the car, went down onto it, and killed the 3 kids. A small community. It took a nanosecond before the road was lined with all of the parents from the soccer team, community people, newspaper, everybody was there watching. This was a recovery. Just so you know, this was not, we were not saving lives here. This was a recovery. First day on the job, a new firefighter had gone through the school, was now on a shift. This was first call. Gets home, drops his boots, said, not for me, I'm out of here. And when we think about what our folks see on a daily basis, it is, I was talking to a chief the other day, and he emotionally told me that he estimates he's seen over 1,000 deceased individuals, burned, in car accidents where there are body parts everywhere. It's a hard job. Why I talk about culture and air versus willful wanton misconduct. At the Metro Department many years ago, that the chief called me, a longtime friend, and we've pushed this for decades. Listen, learn from errors, don't accept willful wanton misconduct. And the chief called me, big department. And he tells me, he says, how am I gonna handle this? Well, what do you got? He goes, we had a senior citizen down. Our first engine company arrives on scene, and they picked up enough in the radio chatter that they were pretty sure it was a heart issue. So they grabbed the black box, the drug box, they grabbed the defib unit, and they enter the house. Senior down, they assess the patient, they decide they're gonna defib the patient, and they get every firefighter's dream, they get a conversion. Brought him back. Package the patient, take him to the hospital. All this sounds great, right? This state, and I think Oregon has the same law, you have to inventory your black box every day. It's the law. So the chief says 2 days after the call, in walks the chief's spouse, plate of cookies, and the black box under the spouse's arm. This department is so busy, and I don't remember how many substations they've got, but I think they have in excess of 200 officers, which gives, it's a major metro. The chief has the most amazing support staff, lovingly referred to as the screener. You get in to see the chief for 1 or 2 reasons. You're the mayor, or you have an appointment. You don't get it. So the senior walks up, I think I've told you this story before. plate of cookies, black box, and the screener says, the senior comes up and says, I don't have much, but I want to make sure your firefighters are thanked, and know how much we love them. She says, Chief will want to see me. Busted, and the chief tells me he's on the phone, phone's under his ear, and he looks at her, he does one of these, like, what are you doing? I'm on the phone. She says, hang up, you want this. Hangs up, senior walks in, cookies, black box, same story. I want this to get out to your firefighters. We want to thank them. We love them. Save my spouse. Starts to head out. Oh, by the way, they left this behind. I thought you wanted it. It's supposed to be inventoried every day. This is 2 days later. Chief says, from the numbers on the box, the lettering, he could determine which substation and what ambulance it came out of. This is like a major pucker factor 4 event, right? This is shut down from the state. She's not hardly out of his office, and he calls the substation, gets the officer in charge, and says, hey, did you do morning checkout? Because there's a process. He said, I could hear the officer's wheels turning, like, what is wrong with the chief today? Yeah, chief, I did my job. Would you check the ambulance, check this ambulance, and see if the black box is there? Goes out. He said, I could hear him walking on the concrete in the substation like, man, what is bugging the chief? This thing he hears the officer running back on the concrete, breathless, going, somebody stole the black box. And this is why we don't reprimand errors. When they did a drill down, they were so busy, no one, no substation, no crew was doing the checkout according to protocols. They were too busy. They were hotboxing. The ambulance would come back, 10 minutes late from a call. They jump out and the next crew would jump in and they're already on the next call. So what they were doing is they were reading the run log from the day before and seeing that no drugs were used in the box. So it was logical the box was fine, was okay. But they hadn't thought about the other possibility was left behind. Tell me what chief is going to call in 200 plus officers and say, all your asses are in trouble. Can I say that? Okay. All your butts are in trouble. You're all getting the check mark. Or the other option is to call in the one individual or the two individuals that didn't do it and say, you two are in trouble. What's the rest of the troops going to say? Well, they're going to go, well, A, the system isn't just. And damn, I'm glad it wasn't me because it could have been me. That's not a good system. That is not a good culture to have. So errors we learn from, you're going to learn this here in our strategic plan. As you move forward, you're going to get a lot of times where the chief or Cole comes in and says, I didn't get my action item done. I couldn't. We were too busy. Move it out a month. Now, if they don't get it done in 6 months, we'll probably have a problem. But errors we accept and we learn from it. Willful wanton misconduct, I'm not doing my goal. That's not the mentality we need. That's not the humble servant role that we want. So this is all about building culture. I hope today was a good day. You'll see all of this memorialized under these 5 goals as best we can. Each goal is going to have 2-3 objectives. Staff will define finished for your approval and the steps to get there. So give us about 60, 90 days to do it. We'll do our part in the next 30. We'll go to work with staff, and then we're going to help you monitor it. And we're going to help you make course corrections as we get down the road a little ways. And you're going to be making a lot of those. If you look at anything that's coming out of, right now, 1901 is being rewritten. 1500, 7 documents on firefighter health, wellness, and fitness, all being rewritten. So all this is going to be a constant course correction. We're at 12:30. What I'm going to suggest you do is grab some pizza, have some fun, get out of here, enjoy your family. You're going to a baseball game?
No.
Anybody going?
You want a barbecue?
Barbecue. And tomorrow, this is a holy day. I expect each of you to take at least one knee and drink some green beer and some Jameson. That's the rules. Thank you for letting us come up. We appreciate it.
Thank you.